You want me to start?
Yeah, I was gonna say
I'll start. Maybe we should have worked that out beforehand.
Probably not like.
Are we live? Excellent.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, we're back once again here at the scene of DFI48 in Seattle, Washington. I'm Chris Woods, back from my chair duties to my seat here as the host of Game Day, along with my colleague Sebastian Lobo-Guerrero. And we wanted to get started today. We've got with us Matt Marks, the chair of DFI48, to join us.
Yeah. Thank you.
How we doing, man?
I'm doing fabulous. I'm having a great time. I'm telling you right now, this has been one heck of an experience. So I'm loving it.
Well, my first comment is there's literally no scenario where blaring Soundgarden at 9 in the morning
I know.
is a bad scenario.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, that is just the way to get after
I was
it.
thinking growing up in the 90s, right? Even though it was
100%.
Colombia, right? It's still like I never imagined being in, I mean, Seattle was pretty cool because of all that, right?
Yeah.
Soundgarden and even Pearl Jam and all that. And I never thought being here enjoying that, but with a geotechnical engineering part, right? So that's awesome because it shows how we mix things in life. So that was an awesome detail.
I'm glad that was something that I was hoping to get done, and it came through
great.
Sort of last minute, but we got it.
Great video, man.
Wanted to open it up with a bang. I wanted everybody to get excited and pumped up and energized. So.
Excellent. So
it was great.
So talk to us about the last year. I mean, we've got some experience, right?
Well, since you took our jobs, right?
You took our jobs.
I took your.
You took his
my job, right?
You took his job. Tell us about the last year. Tell us about your experience.
Well, so that was great. Well, it was I mentioned earlier today, you know, whenever Angie and Teresa approached me, I was kind of surprised. I said, well, why me? You know, I said, first of all, I said, well, you want money? What do you want? You know, more sponsorship?
You want
me to platinum sponsor or do something like
I had
that?
similar thoughts last year. Why me? Yeah, there you go.
No, but and I was, you know, because hey, you know, it was an honor to be asked to do it. And I thought about it. I said, yeah, you know what? I can do that. And I know I got teamed with some great program co-chairs. So Catherine Pedic and Scott Walker. And I mean, they're the brains of the operation. I just helped kind of keep everything together. And, you know, as you know, I mean, this DFI organization, it runs smooth. I mean, it runs smooth. I mean, they're like, this is how it's going to happen. This is how it's going to be.
But go back to the point that I think it happened to all of us. I mean, well, Chris definitely, I mean, he lives close to DC when we were doing DFI there, but same, like, you know, when I was doing it, I live in Pittsburgh, right? So it was not even close. For you, it's similar, right? Tell us a little more about like you and how you end up here. Right. So just
in Seattle or just in my job or whatever. So I grew up in Pittsburgh. I grew up in Pittsburgh.
And then you left us.
Then I left you. Yeah, I know. I grew up in Pittsburgh, born and raised. So big Steeler fan and everything that has to associate with Pittsburgh. Went to Penn State, graduated Penn State, and
all right, that'll wrap up the interview.
That's it.
All right.
Those are the wrong words on this table.
Oh, come on, man.
The worst thing you can have
said. You know, I mean, come on. It's go blue. Well, actually, not go blue.
We are. Boiler up, man. Boiler up.
Oh, okay, that's right.
We'll agree to disagree.
Yeah, me and Hannah talked about this the other night. So your other co-program chair, she's Northwestern. So
that's it.
So let's say you have a dark period of your life.
I got on the road. So I got through that. So I started in construction right away and worked with a company out in Pittsburgh and then got on the road, you know, just started traveling, job state to state, and then moved to Florida and spent about 4 years down in Florida in the Tampa area. And then I had an opportunity again with the same company to check out the office in California and loved it. It was just really a lot happening. And so I kind of came out and they barred me for a project and I went back to Florida and I said, I think I'm rather kind of good.
Probably be on the West Coast.
Yeah, just on the West Coast. Got it. Exciting, and stayed ever since. And then, you know, 2 or 3 companies later, here we are with Forgen and doing well. So yeah, and then you know, Seattle, we were just West Coast.
But before that, go back into how do you got involved on DFI?
DFI,
what brought you into?
DFI, I think it was earlier in after we started a company called Magnet Pacific in 2009. I think it's about when we started to get involved in DFI. We actually we were looking at some industry kind of conferences to kind of get involved with. And so, and this one popped up and we instantly kind of just started attending their meetings. We actually got runner-up OPA one year.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, back in like 2009 or 10.
There you go.
So, and that got us excited. And then we got on the inside cover and we've been there ever since. So if you ever open up the DFI magazine, you'll see.
Well, no, and I was
going
to say, I mean,
but yeah, I'm just saying that's how we got.
No, but I was going to say that. I mean, it's obviously DFI needs the sponsors and you know, and you guys have always been supporting.
Yes.
And all kind of initiatives, right? I mean, it's not only it's not only like, okay, let's do the magazine and all that, but it's like when DFI has ideas and it asks you guys, you're always supporting.
Always supporting.
That, which is appreciated, right?
Yeah,
I love the people that.
As you imagine, the high budget we need for this show, right? We're very happy.
Yeah, there is a
Did I pay for this?
The high salaries. The high salaries.
Well, his salary is a little bloated, but the very high production budgets that we have here, yeah, they need to be paid for somehow.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, so I mean, yeah. So DFI, hey, it's been great. The people we met here and just kind of the connections and networking. I love that it was kind of a technical conference where you can meet kind of your peers and work. You know, it wasn't so businessy. It was great to associate with like,
but it's also a practical technicality.
Practical, yeah.
You know.
So yeah, we've just been doing it ever since. I did some paper back in 38.
Yeah. I remember like you start presenting at the events.
Yeah,
and then
started kind of getting more involved
into committees and organizations and all that.
And then this
came across.
This came across. It was close enough. I think Angie and I were looking for somebody on the West Coast, kind of like you. And
absolutely.
So yeah.
And then let's go to Seattle. So when Seattle comes in the picture for you on DFI, like at what point? You know, like, okay, they tell you, do you want to be the chair? And then they say it is Seattle. And you say, well, that's not exactly where I live, but I'll do it. Right? And all that. Right. And then what happened after that? You met your organizing committee, your technical committee. And how did the planning for the conference started?
Yeah, so I was asked, I think, in July, and we had our first meeting in August of, 2022? So,
that sounds about right.
It's
so
like a little more than a year before,
so we came here in August, and we toured the facilities, and then that's a great, really well planned out session there. We came up with our conference theme and some ideas on call for abstracts, as it goes.
So tell us a little bit about the team, because I think it's very interesting.
The team?
Right? The team of this year,
Yeah, so you have, besides myself, you have Scott Walker with Langen, who's actually in Oakland, but he has an office here in Seattle too. So so he kind of spends a lot of time back and forth. And then Catherine Pedic with Shannon Wilson. So she's here in Seattle.
Yeah, she's the only one that is really based
in Seattle. So and so it was kind of dynamic because I didn't know them at all before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really before we met. And a lot of people were still getting to know me. We're a lesser known kind of group, maybe, and we're not like a.
But you see, but I think that's an interesting part. I knew Chris when we did ours last year. I think I knew Chris because of different things, but we definitely became closer friends. You know what I'm saying? Like it's another aspect that is serving in these organizing committees and things bring people together, and it's a cool aspect, right?
Yeah.
And that's a connection you guys will have, because it's like, myself and Sebastian and Hannah haven't put that together last year.
Yeah.
Like that's a link that we'll now have moving forward in our careers.
Oh, it's great.
You know what I mean?
Yes. And I've met so many great people this year too. It wasn't like even like an Eric, just walking up to people and say, hey, I'm conference chair for DFI48.
Oh, it's awesome, man.
They're like, oh, wow, nice to meet you.
I flexed that thing, man. I was here 2 years, but like 3 years. So.
have you been signing autographs? Because this guy was trying to sign autographs.
You know what I mean? He's selling them, man. He's super famous as it is. So
he is a big deal.
It's the accent and everything.
Really small group. Really small group.
All right, so let's shift gears here for a minute now, right? So as you guys have put this together, again, right, I know what the process is like. What's the vision? What are the speakers? What roads do we want to go down? Let's talk about, gutsy move. The leadoff batter is an economist.
Yes.
Right? So like that can go one of two ways on you.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think he went.
I think it went really well.
Great this week.
Yes.
Right? So how'd you land with him?
I was very pleased with that. So we were talking about it, and because of the theme embracing change, one of the things we kept discussing was, all the issues that we're seeing with labor shortages and supply chain issues and all this other stuff that just in the economy coming out of COVID, and the pandemic and so forth. So just worries about that. And I guess the idea I think it was just at one of the first organizing committees, we talked about, hey, it would be really great to go a different direction and maybe open up with something a little bit less technical, and something that everybody can relate to, right? Because and even we tried to get it to be very much focused on more construction. He went broad, and which I think was great.
But I also love the message.
Oh, I love the message.
Like the message that he was saying about, these are good times. I mean, despite the social narrative, these are good times. And,
Yeah.
And these are, plus I don't know. He gave me like 2 lines that I'm gonna steal for every presentation. The first one is, how do you know that? I mean, I don't remember what he was saying, like, but it was some profession. How do you know if they have a good? We can apply in geotech. We can say, how do you know a geotech engineer has a good sense of humor?
Yeah.
Because they use 2 decimals, right? Like
Right.
when it's not
Yeah, that's hilarious.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I'm gonna use
Yeah,
that.
that's
one.
great,
And then
yeah.
the
That's a
other
good
one
one.
about saying, what an economist. But again, I'm just gonna steal it and put a geotech engineer just to, what is the main role of a geotech? Just to make, like, what is the name? The astrologist, to make them like look respectable.
You
right?
look
Respectable.
respectable.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
That's
So-
a good one too.
I think what I appreciated the most where he was talking about narrative and like reality,
Yeah, social
Right.
narrative.
social
versus-
narrative.
Yes.
I mean, so what that did for me is at least it confirmed that I've the last couple of years been fairly convinced that society is basically going to come unraveled at some point because of social media.
Yeah,
Right. So
100%.
it's kind of along the lines of what he was talking about. But I mean, he was pretty spot on with some of the stuff that he was talking about. So I actually, I found him profoundly interesting
Oh, he was super
to listen
interesting.
to.
No,
Yeah,
no,
he
it was, and I mean, obviously he's a pro, so like the way that he conducted the presentation, he kept it interesting all the time.
That's it.
Yes. No, it was definitely a great way to start. But I have to say that my favorite is always, and I mean, I think this is really the result of many DFI nationals that we always go different cities, which make it very exciting, right? And then we have a presentation about the foundations on that particular city, right?
Yep.
And it's like
Yeah.
an overview. It's an overview of the foundations on that city and an overview of some recent big projects. And I
Yep.
mean, I found that presentation fascinating. I mean, the way that it was showing the history of Seattle and how, like, on the bayfront, they start putting all that unconsolidated material, right? And,
Yes.
and anything basically that could go there. And then going into the seismic part and going into the projects and how to redo the waterfront and how to redo like that road that was on top. I mean, I think it was really fascinating and yeah, she kept it also like the pictures and all that was great. I mean,
Yeah.
it definitely is the right way to start, right? And
I love it. Yeah. Giovanni did something like that last year.
yeah, so
in
exactly.
Ann
So
Arbor. Yeah,
Giovanni did that, and I remember also when we were in Chicago in 2019, we had an awesome presentation
Yeah, that was
showing
a great
like, the
presentation.
history of drill shafts, micropads, and all that in Chicago.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Las
Mike,
Vegas,
Mike
Mike
McGettigan did the same
in
thing in
Las
Las
Vegas
Vegas
was
years
great,
ago. Yep.
That's
I
right,
mean,
yeah.
it's the ultimate nerd vacation. But to be honest, it's like that's what we want to see as very nerd people, right? It's
Yeah.
like I don't do foundations here in Seattle, so I don't know the conditions, right? But
Yeah.
it's awesome
Exactly.
to see that. And
Yeah, it's a national conference. There's
it's
people
a
here
national
from all over
conference,
the
but
world.
it's
frankly.
highlighting
24
soil
where you're at.
conditions of different places, which is
That's
great
it.
because many conferences don't do that. I mean, they don't have that much intense flavor on where they are located, right? I mean,
That's
we're all
right.
in Seattle, right? Might as well just enjoy that and learn more about it.
I learned something about the city. So that was,
Yeah.
it was interesting.
That's
so
it.
I do find that as an enjoyable part of the conference,
Yes.
especially
Oh,
where
yeah,
you're
yeah.
at. We always try to kind of gear it towards that. But
So what do we think? So we're just kind of getting started, right?
Yeah,
we're
sure.
we're
Yeah,
the
what is
afternoon
next,
of the first
right?
day. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
what do you think? I mean, what are some of the highlights we got coming for the rest of the week?
well, okay. So here at just about 4:00, we have a panel discussion, owner and agency panel discussion.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
we have 5 individuals from different like WashDOT, from
Yep.
Seattle codes and regulations, and then California DWR, Department
Okay.
of Water Resources, and the Army Corps of Engineers, and they're all going to talk different aspects about kind of some of the things that they've experienced over the last couple of years that are happening now that are embracing change aspects. So some of them are talking about changing codes, some of them are talking about engineering challenges, some of them are talking about how we're doing procurements now, early contractor collaboration. So I'm excited how that kind of framed out, and working with
Mhm.
Catherine and Scott on that
Sure.
really kind of came around. So I'm super excited about that at 4:00. And then tonight we got the welcome reception.
That's it.
One of my favorites. So we'll get the band back
I mean,
together.
I mean, tomorrow. I mean, we got Ken Jennings.
Ken Jennings
Ken
is
Jennings,
is
right?
man, that's
I gotta
So
meet Ken
how
Jennings
that idea
tomorrow.
came through and how that
Ken
materialized.
Jennings. So
Yeah.
again, that was also through an organizer. I was really happy with the organizing committee, because sometimes you feel like you got to get involved. You got to ask
Yeah,
you
yeah,
to get
correct.
involved. You know what I mean? Sometimes they, but they were really interactive, and
And I think
we
that's
were
the
dropping
success,
names,
right? I
yeah.
mean, it's like when you have a good team and they also delegate, they brainstorm and all that, it really makes your life easier.
Yeah, like last year we kind of
Oh,
made
yeah.
it that you were like the Pope or the king, and then the rest of us were like the prime minister and the minions that actually got the work done.
There you go.
That
You know
sounds
what I mean?
harsh.
Yeah.
That sounds harsh.
That sounds about right.
But I mean, that's pretty much what we did. Yeah, no, it worked out. It worked out well. Yeah, right. If you got the
No,
great
but
team,
it's the key. I mean,
Yeah.
it has to be a shared responsibility because otherwise it's overwhelming. And DFI has a really good, I mean, they have the system down. I mean, this
Yeah.
is
and you
48
and
they
that you
do
don't
it,
see
right?
until you get into it, right?
Yes,
like
correct.
like Jamie and Angie and
Yes,
Jess
correct.
and everyone behind the scenes. I mean, especially
Yes.
Jamie with that spread, she gives you that spreadsheet, and you got your like
Yes.
you just go and you do what you're told, and it
Correct,
works out
correct.
pretty well.
No, it's awesome. It's really
So, all right, so you're obviously a busy guy. We don't want to hold you up
Oh,
too
yeah.
much. So I think one last thing that we would ask, like, so you're gonna get to Friday at noon. You're gonna be
Yes.
like,
and then get wasted.
man, this is awesome that
Noon
this is
30.
I don't have this job anymore. Now it's someone else's deal. But as you think back the last year, as we move to next year, DFI 49 in Colorado, what would be your advice to the organizing folks for next year? Like, what did you learn that you plan on sharing at the kind of debrief on Friday morning
Yes.
with the next crew?
You know, kind of what I learned, I think just even being on the organizing committees before and being a moderator and so forth was stay on track. First of all, I mean, there is a plan in place, and I think, and they lay it, the team, DFI staff team lay it out early on. Hey, these are the dates we're going to hit.
Yes, correct.
So you got to keep the team on track to hit those dates, and then everything kind of runs smooth from there. But
And have fun, right? I mean, that's
have
another
fun.
thing.
Have fun.
Yeah, I mean,
Bring
Absolutely.
your vision, bring your angle. Right?
I was
mean,
nervous getting into the whole thing about.
I
just-
know, but then we got wasted, and I explained to you that it was nothing to get. I remember that night in Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah, Georgia was a
Yes,
great
yes,
night.
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Oh man, that
A
was.
few tequilas got him completely
Well,
relaxed.
that's you, buddy.
Tequila does make you bulletproof. I didn't know
Yes.
if you knew
But-
that or not. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there was a lot to learn on that, and just and so we had to stay on each other. So I mean, just stay on top of it. But everything came through. I mean, I think getting the program together was
Once
actually
that materializes, it changes a lot of.
wow. Actually, I thought it went smoother than I thought it was going to be. Like really, like I was kind of nervous about it, like a nightmare. It was happening. But
Your name's on it. There's videos. There's like it's like a deeply personal thing when you're in this kind of role,
100%.
Yes, correct.
right? Because
Yeah.
it reflects upon you.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So
Well, I got my bosses and my boss's boss to come out here, and so I was like,
Yeah.
you got to come see the conference.
Yes,
So,
of
but
course.
it does. It really
You
feels.
have to save that program, man. Like I saved the program, put it on my library, right? I mean, because those memories stay forever. You see those names on the organizing committee and all that. So it's.
I like when we do Teams calls and you've got the
I still have
the game day poster
thing,
of you and
yeah.
me right behind
I mean,
you.
it's the
Yeah, that
memories-
works out well.
It's the
Yep.
memories that we build going through the journey of work, but also these professional
it.
societies.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, no, So it just that's what I would take away, and then have fun again, like you said, have fun.
Yeah.
We've had so much fun. I'm gonna be happy and sad when it's all done. I think come
but it's cool.
Friday.
It's cool. It's cool to say that
Friday-
you're a former chair of the conference. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It's
I can tell you from my personal experience this year that you will find it quite delightful to get to Colorado next year
Yeah,
yes.
and not be on the clock.
and not have to do
Yeah, it'll be
anything.
it'll be very delightful.
I'm just
Yeah,
gonna
that's
be
it.
just a spectator, but yeah, it'll be fun. So, well, yeah, that's
All right,
about
man.
it.
Well,
so
thanks
yeah,
for
I
everything you're
appreciate you guys
doing,
having me on. This
and,
was fun.
Appreciate. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
look.
Yeah, what do you guys got next?
who knows, man?
Well, I don't
This
know.
is the
We got
beauty of the
Freddy.
show.
We got Morgan. We got WiDF
Okay.
winners.
Yes.
We
All
got
right, yeah.
we got a speaker from Germany.
Oh, fantastic! I
we
love
got
it.
we got a leprechaun. I mean, we have an endless supply of people
That
to talk
was-
to.
Yes.
That was great. Hey, and that WiDF reception last night was great.
Yes,
So.
That's it.
was fun.
Yeah,
a
it was a lot of fun dressing up for Halloween. So, but well, good deal.
Absolutely.
All right,
Awesome,
hey,
man.
well, thanks a lot.
Thanks for
Appreciate
Thanks for
you
stopping
guys.
joining us, man.
Thanks again. We'll see you guys later on tonight.
Keep it going. Absolutely.
Morgan, you ready?
All right.
Let's.
Who
do
we
this.
got? We doing Morgan. I think we got Freddy coming.
All right.
Who we doing?
All right.
Yeah.
Then let's do Freddy first.
All right, we'll bring Freddy.
Okay, then Morgan. One of the two.
All right.
Thank you.
You know how it goes. We make this up
It
as
is
we go.
live. And your family is watching. So yes,
Yeah, about.
everyone on this cyberspace is, and it also stays in YouTube, so can be shared with family.
Oh,
and
so it's
friends.
permanent too.
Yes.
It's live but permanent.
It is permanent. Any
That's it.
mistake will be forever, there, right?
Okay.
Sebastian, why don't you
Yes.
Introduce
absolutely.
your
Well,
colleague?
all right. So let me start with Morgan because we go a long way, right? So
Sure do.
Morgan is originally close to Pittsburgh, close enough, right? Went to the University of Pittsburgh. That's kind of when we met. Morgan represents a lot of what DFI, in my opinion, you represent a lot of what DFI is trying to really incentivize in terms of females in our industry and really started early. So Morgan was the recipient of the DFI scholarship, right? So that was so many years ago. Couple, maybe 2-3 years ago. That was on your undergrad, right?
That was an undergrad, I
Yes.
think junior year.
So you
for me.
started with that, right? And then I have the pleasure of being your professor for the slope stability when you were doing your master's,
Yeah.
right? And then Morgan was on DFI last year with a scholarship too, second
That's it.
scholarship on DFI
As a student.
as a
so.
student to attend the conference, right? And then she started working at the company that I work. So it's American Geotechnical and Environmental Services. We have to give a little bit of a plug there. She started also working with us, and now she's here with the grant for Women in Deep Foundations, a professional grant. So
Look,
that's awesome.
I'll start by saying, I mean, look, all the grants aside and the budding rock star in the industry aside, I'm just going to go ahead and give you credit for being here, having run a marathon on Sunday.
Yes,
Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
I that's in my estimation, that's actually a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But that's my own personal opinion.
Definitely still hobbling.
Yeah.
She's
No,
one of
that's
the runners. She's the ringer on our. So we have a running team in the
Yeah.
company that is called the Running Suns.
Okay.
It's a pretty good name.
got it.
So yeah, she's like the star of the team, right? So
I don't know about that. We have some pretty good runners at ages.
well, we have a little,
Alright.
yeah.
All
Not
right.
me, but
But no, we
I take care of the pack. The back of the pack. That's my son there. But
no, we had the chance to have lunch together on what I think Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh
oh yeah, you
both
guys
being
took
in-
that
both
picture,
being in
yeah.
Virginia.
Yeah, Geo
yeah.
Institute.
Geo Institute.
Yep,
Yes.
and that was fun. It was her being one of your students, and then
Yes.
one of your other colleagues,
Yes.
Sandarva,
Sandarva was there in the
one
picture, yeah.
one of my former students.
Oh, he was. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. It's a
Which
small
in
world.
which in its own right is I actually say that out loud in front of our millions of viewers. That's a terrifying thought that I have former students, right? I mean, let's just call it what it is. I mean, I see Mike standing here. Mike knows me back from my 20-year-old days.
Yeah.
Sitting jockey on the drill rig for Langen, and I don't think anyone would have thought maybe at that point that teaching would have been a good idea.
Yes.
But so
lessons what not to do.
yeah, well, that's fair. So all right, so you're compared to us, you're about 5 minutes into your career.
Yeah.
So
That's a good way to put it.
what drew you to want to be a geotechnical engineer?
Oh, that's a
Besides
good
your
question.
amazing professor of slope stability, right?
Yeah,
So-
that was my
would-
first answer.
I would say in spite of your
In spite of,
amazing
yeah.
professor, but
No,
yes.
but what really started making the profession attractive to you? And at what age? I mean, was that before you went to Pitt, or
Not before I
or
went
it
to
was
Pitt.
like once you were taking civil engineering? Like, what attracted you to civil engineering? And then once you were there, what really brought you? Because we always have this joke that it's like every geotech is a frustrated structural engineer, right?
That's it. Well, in
Every
my,
geotech started as a structural engineer and then say
or-
this stuff is crazy. I'm just gonna go geotech.
We just
or in
have
my
better
case, a failed
imaginations.
mechanical engineer.
Oh.
But
Well,
yeah.
actually, no, yeah, that's even the first step. That's in high school when you go to civil engineer, and then you go to geotech because you couldn't go on a structure, right? So what's your path? Start from the beginning. Tell us everything
So
and more.
it started out with me wanting to be an environmental engineer, actually.
I knew it. You see, nobody goes to geotech straight, man.
That's it.
Yeah, I didn't even go to civil straight. So
Oh,
I-
really?
yeah,
I
it was
didn't know that.
environmental. So after my freshman year at Pitt, that's when you have to declare what kind of
Okay.
engineering you want to go into. And I chose environmental engineering.
Okay.
That's what I was interested in. And as an environmental engineer, sophomore at Pitt, you have to take civil classes.
Yes, because it's the same.
Yeah,
department,
because
right?
it's
Yep.
roughly the same curriculum. And I found at the first co-op fair that I went to,
Mm-hmm.
talking to the civil companies, I was more interested in being out in the field and
Okay,
doing
and doing the
civil work,
part.
Got it.
seeing
Okay.
drilling and construction. So my first co-op was with Gettle.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I worked for Gettle for 3 co-op rotations, and that is when I decided I want to go into geotechnical engineering.
Okay. So then, so at that time, you are still at Pitt doing your undergrad with
Right.
co-ops and all that. And then how do you find out about the scholarship, like the DFI scholarship, right? Because I
Yeah.
mean, I personally have been putting a huge effort because for many years, we have the DFI scholarship at Pitt. And there were people
And it
not
just wasn't
using it.
getting
Nobody
wasn't
was
getting
applying.
published enough.
It was
Yes.
not even, so how did you find out?
So a friend of mine that worked at Gettle with me, actually, for our first co-op rotation, got the scholarship the year
Okay.
before me. So I found out word of mouth. but I didn't hear about it other than
So you
that.
probably didn't even know what.
He told me it
You
was
probably
like
Deep Foundation Institute was like some institute about deep foundations on your life, right? Like
Yeah.
your values and stuff like that. Not even.
I didn't know I
related.
would be here for the conference 2 years when I was
Yes.
applying for the first time for the
Right.
So
scholarship.
you apply and you got it, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I like DFI, right? But you probably still at that point. I mean, being honest, you probably start knowing a little bit, but you're probably the first time that you really saw what DFI was. I imagine was last year, right? In Maryland, when we
Yep.
have the big conference, and that's when you start realizing, okay, well, DFI it's huge, right? I mean, it's a conference with 1,000 people, and it's specialized because that's the other part, right? Like a lot of the stuff that we do is specialized on deep foundations.
Sure.
But many people on their undergrad or they still don't even know. I mean, they may just want geotech, but they don't know deep foundation compared to ground improvement. I mean, it's a little early.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard call to make as an undergrad, right? You're taking classes in transportation, you're taking classes in structures, you're taking environmental classes, right? And something along the line has to resonate with you.
Yes.
And for you, it sounds like it was the co-op period. For me, it was I had an internship with Langen where I was hired by guys that were doing geotech work. And I hadn't really focused on that too much in my studies to that point, but it was like, oh, wait a minute. Right. So it sounds like you had a similar kind
But
of,
you know,
once you start seeing
there
it.
is more than
Yeah,
that.
I had to
And,
actually
I mean,
see it.
yesterday she got the grant, right? And she got the award, and we took a picture of the two of us, right? I mean, I feel like a parent, right? Like a dad, because I'm all proud of her, right? Because I have seen her like her whole career. And so we took that picture and I posted and all that on LinkedIn. And it was awesome because then Ghetto, right? From the Ghetto account, right? Congratulate her and then say, hey, Sebastian, like it's awesome that, it's awesome that she's with you guys now and all that. But like she also learned a lot with us, right?
Yeah.
And then like she has a whole career because she did, it was 3 rotations with them, something
Right.
like
Yeah.
that, right?
3 rotations with Ghetto.
With Ghetto. And then she was also with Schnabel. She was also doing like summer jobs
Okay.
and stuff with Schnabel. Which
So I went
also
from
were commenting
contractor
and-
to design.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome that you get all that experience, right? I mean, as a young person in the field, most people don't come with that, experience when you start working in consulting, like what you do now. So
that's all right. Sebastian hasn't gotten there yet. I got there a long time ago. You'll learn at some point that timesheets are the Antichrist manifested as a consulting tool, and you'll realize that being a contractor will be a better idea. But you need to come to that conclusion.
Okay.
On
Like
your
we said,
own.
I'm 5 minutes into this.
That's
career
it.
thing.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So what has been, since you've joined Aegis and you're working full time and everything now, what's been the most fun? What is something you've learned? How's it gone so far?
So far, it's been great. I love Aegis.
I love the fact she say that and look at me like, right.
Not just saying that because I'm on camera.
No, but
Right.
I'll make her life easier a little bit. So Morgan came actually at a key point because we have an office in DC.
In DC,
that,
yep.
Adam Maroff is our branch manager. And he started there probably about 4 or 5 years ago, but he has been building this team, right?
Yep.
And then Morgan kind of fit perfectly when we approached her and see if she wanted to work with us and all that. I mean, DC for her, for personal reasons, it worked perfectly, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But then
That's where
she's
I wanted
also
to
a key element, and it's part of what I really like, the fact that she's there, because like as she's growing and developing on the field, like that office is also growing, and so yeah, and I think the setup they have is really good. So, right, so now you can continue.
So
with
no,
your
something else I
side of
didn't
the story.
mention was how I ended up at Aegis. When I first met Sebastian, I also met Mark Styler at the
Yes.
Pittsburgh Geo Institute dinner.
Yes,
Right.
Yes.
I think Tom Richards presented that night.
Yes.
It was the only one that I
Mandalay
went
Bay.
to
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
as a student. And
Sure.
that's when I met you
Yes,
and heard
correct.
about Aegis, and then learned that they had a DC office, and then reached out later.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. Well,
Yeah,
but tell
so-
us, I mean, we are going all personal here, but you also have other reasons to be on DC, right?
Yeah.
So tell us more about Sean and all that.
So I had a boyfriend in college, and we decided that.
Still.
Oh yeah, still
right?
do. Sorry, not past tense. But then
He's watching and he's like, what happened?
I'm gonna tell him to watch. We kind of decided we wanted to leave Pittsburgh because the both of us had grown up in
Which is
Pittsburgh.
insane. How come somebody got that?
I
We
can't
wanted to see
understand
something
anyone
new.
coming to that conclusion. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So he landed his job first. I was going to grad school, so I still
Sure.
had more time
Got
in
it.
school.
He's also an engineering. Right?
All right.
Different,
Yeah,
right? It's
he does
like
software
computer
engineer.
software.
Got it.
And he got his job in DC. I liked Aegis. I heard that they had a DC office, and then
There you
it
go.
went from
Started
there. I
working out,
asked to
yeah.
work there. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
but
So, go ahead.
I was going to say I started out as an intern in the Pittsburgh office.
Got it.
Yes.
While I was finishing school.
All right.
Wow, yeah, it's amazing how things kind of
The-
evolve and
Yeah.
one
There you go.
leads to the other.
All right. So 2 years, now being here at the DFI annual conference once as a student, now
A
once
regular. You are
yeah,
a regular now.
yeah. So what has been maybe the biggest thing as you've had the opportunity to attend these conferences, right? Because I'll be honest with you, and maybe Sebastian had the same experience, but when I was staff engineer, I wasn't going to this kind of stuff.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't, there's not that many opportunities at the younger levels, which I think is probably something as an industry we need to do a better job on. But what would you say the biggest thing you've learned in the last 2 years being at these conferences has been?
So in terms of DFI, I've learned how big DFI is as an organization. But my favorite thing over these past years is definitely seeing the women in DFI.
Yeah.
Me also being a woman in the industry. That's just so encouraging.
Yes.
It's funny.
Exactly.
We were in the bathroom earlier this morning, and there was a line for the women's restroom, and Lucky was in there in line, and she just stopped and she's like, "This is amazing. We have a line for the women's restroom."
At a construction
that's a great
conference.
point.
Deep
That's a great point.
foundations conferences never
I
happen.
mean, typically, and if you go to a construction site or something, you are never gonna have a line on the women bathroom. I mean, it's
Just no line for bathrooms
I mean,
because on
like-
a site,
Yeah.
as important as it is. Like the statistics that we manage in our industry, obviously, in the female side are always low. So I think DFI is a pioneer on all that. And it's great because you can see that a lot of other professional societies are doing that, right? And they're creating their own women group. And I think also the objective has been shifting a little bit, right? Because at the beginning was creating awareness, and it was a lot, right? And obviously at some point I'd say that my dream is that, as weird as it sounds, my dream is that we don't even talk about this in a few years, right? In the sense that it's not an issue anymore, so we don't even have to have that, right?
Right.
So I mean, I think that's the ultimate goal.
it's just completely
close the
normal.
gap, and then it's like, all right, then it's all
That's
the same.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. No, the Women in Deep Foundation committee has been doing some great work.
Yes.
I've been fortunate that, the creation of the, I don't know if you're involved in a mentoring pod yet, but they've got these pods. There's groups of us, 5 or 6 of us that meet, on a monthly basis just to kind of talk through. And the idea has been that you've got some senior level people, maybe some mid-career type people and some younger engineers in there, just trying to share experiences, and so that's a very unique thing that the committee formed, that I've felt very fortunate to be involved in something like that. And they're just constantly doing good work. I mean, you're looking at one of the biggest women rock stars in our industry over here, Lori Simpson. I mean,
Future DFI president.
future DFI.
wow.
That's actually right.
It's already on track. She's already on the.
She's on the executive.
committee,
She may actually probably be the first woman president of DFI. Yeah.
And then Helen is gonna be. Well, I don't know. She's not the first. I guess CC was also like, but it's awesome to even in Geo Institute see that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
No, that's fantastic. Excellent. Any final thoughts?
I don't think so.
All right.
I think we covered it all.
No, I mean, as I said, I mean, it's awesome from the personal side, right? For me, it's awesome to
That's
see
it.
her being here in this and continue witness the growth that she's having, right? And
Well, so when we're at like DFI, 65,
We'll do this again.
getting ready to
Yes,
retire,
exactly.
and you'll be telling us about the
Yes.
high rises you're building and all the other stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
And how this platform has provided a springboard. Now, our millions of viewers, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
No,
Millions of
No,
subscribers.
but it's-
millions of subscribers. Yes.
No, thanks for stopping by and
yes.
talking to us for a
Yeah,
little bit,
thanks.
and congratulations again. And I guess the final question is: are you taking the big check on the airplane, or what's the plan?
I have
with
to
that?
find the big check. I left
Oh,
it at
wow,
the
it's-
I left it at the reception
But
last
nobody
night.
can cash that one, right? So that's just
I
decoration.
have the real check, but
All right.
that would be amazing office wall art.
Yes,
That really would be
It
pretty
has to
good.
go up.
Yes.
Yeah, I
If I
think so.
find it.
I
Yeah.
also love the fact that it's so specific on the amount, right? Because it's supposed to be like a round number, but I guess they discount the tax, so it comes down to like the dollar amount.
On the big check.
Yes,
Yeah,
big
there you go.
checks.
All right.
Yes.
Well,
All
thank
right,
you
well,
very
thank you
much.
very much for
Thank
stopping
you.
by.
All right.
All
Okay.
right.
Very good.
I like the line.
All right, Freddy. I think you're next.
Freddie. All right.
Esta va a ser en español, ¿cierto? Nah, just
All right. So you guys talk, and I'll just
yes.
Our first international guest
Is it?
I
of the
think so,
show.
yeah.
Am I?
You might be.
You may be.
You may be.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Well, bienvenido.
Thank you.
Freddie, tell
Gracias.
tell us about yourself, man.
What can I tell? I am from Bolivia originally.
Yep.
I live since almost 20 years in Germany.
Okay.
and
Now
now
how you go back? So you started in Bolivia.
Yeah, here goes the South American thing.
Yes,
I'm gonna sit this
important,
one out.
it's
Yeah,
important.
there we go.
So you grew up in Bolivia, idolizing Colombia, I imagine, right? Being
of
in
course,
South
yeah,
America,
envy
right?
in Colombia.
And being in
for-
Colombia, yeah. So you grew
There
up
we
there.
go.
No, I'm just joking. Bolivia is an awesome country. So you studied there. You did all your degrees there. Right?
The undergrad I did in civil engineering,
Okay.
and when I was 22, I applied for a scholarship for my master's in geotechnics,
Okay.
and that is how I went to Germany.
Oh, so that was the way.
That
Education
was the way, yeah,
path.
exactly,
Okay,
exactly. exactly.
And then you just stayed there.
I stayed
But
because
go slowly. Okay, so you went there, you
yeah,
study, and then what happened? Do you thought about, okay, maybe I want to go back, or maybe I want to explore job opportunities here since I'm already here?
more than working, it was I was fascinating with knowing a new culture,
Okay.
Okay.
and that opened up my eyes because I come, you know, I the city I come from is La Paz. It's a very
Yeah.
it's a large city, but it's not as large as Bogota. All right. However, we all think there. Well, it's that this is it, you know.
Mhm.
And once that you are off the borders, then you see, oh, there is a whole new
Yeah.
world outside.
Okay,
That's it.
I'll give a parenthesis on that, Chris, because I mean, being from South America is an awesome place. I still maintain it's the best place in
Yeah,
the
of
world. It could also be the worst place in the world, depending on what side of the spectrum you are. But there is I mean, it's a great place. But then when you find out the world that is out there, it's extremely eye-opening and shocking, right? And I experienced the same thing. It's like you see the world and you want to know more about it,
Yeah.
right?
Well, look, I mean, it's not that different from here in the States, right? I mean, I live in Virginia,
Well, that's true.
but,
Yeah.
but you go
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Philadelphia
Correct.
and you
And
might
that's
as
a
well
whole
be in a different
different-
country.
Yeah,
right? I mean,
Correct.
that
Yeah,
place
it's
is a
true.
mess.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's true. I mean, the
So-
thing for us, the other thing is the language, right? Because
That's
when
it.
when you go
Yep.
and have a different language, it kind of delay a little bit things because at the beginning you don't feel comfortable,
Yeah, of
right? And
course.
then it takes time.
Yep.
Right? But anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah, so that was it. I went there to study. Actually, something that I when I finished the school in Bolivia, when I finished college in Bolivia, I actually thought I wanted to do my PhD in concrete technology.
Oh wow.
And
that
then
doesn't sound good.
I ended up exactly I ended up discovering geotechnics, and I was fascinating. And then I said, well,
so
now
now
I
structural engineer frustrated. You see,
Yeah.
we should have the list here, man.
We have a trend here. Yeah.
Yes.
you know, that was fun. I was really happy to do that, and yeah, I don't regret it. I don't regret it. That was the best experience I had, and of course, having that discovery in my life
Yeah.
took me to know other places. I had the pleasure to work in Germany, to work in Switzerland. Then I had a chance to go back to South America. I went back to Chile.
Oh, so but you live in Chile?
I lived for
okay.
4 years or 4 or 5 years, and then I went back to Germany because after being a foreigner all
Yeah.
that time, at some point I realized, okay, which is my home now, and I
Yeah,
realized Germany
Sure.
was my home, and
Yeah.
then I
Alright.
said, let's go.
You know, that's a hard part because like we all go through that, right? And I am 44 years old, and I have been living in Pittsburgh 22 years.
Okay.
Right? So I mean, obviously I'm Colombian. Like if you ask me, I will always be from Colombia and always from Bogota. But when it comes down to practical matters, I mean, I have been away for 22 years. So I mean, for
Sure.
me, Pittsburgh it's home, right? But the same, like for us, obviously soccer, same in Bolivia.
Yeah.
Like we share a lot because the World Cup qualifying, it's the main thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So it's 10 teams, it's the 10 South American teams, and they play against each other back and forth, right?
Yep.
And that thing, it's the biggest business in the world
Yeah.
because the qualifying starts 3 years before the World Cup,
Yeah.
3 years before, right? And it's like every time they go, they play a couple games, and we always follow that. And it becomes like a way of life that you always follow your national team, right? And you have the jersey and all that. And that I was never able to move on. Like, you know what I'm saying? Even if I live in Pittsburgh, when the Colombian soccer team plays, like for the qualifying and all that, I have my jersey. I even don't go to
See,
the
I can't relate with
You
this
know?
because our national team stinks, right? So it's like we never win the World
It's
Cup.
not that
Our
bad.
women's team is good.
Yeah.
But our men's national team, they never win anything.
But Bolivia, I mean, has the tricky thing because they were the tricky team always because La Paz is really high on altitude.
Okay,
Right?
got
So
it.
when you go there and you play, it's low on oxygen. So all the
Okay.
teams always complain and say like, why do we need to play in La Paz? But then Bolivia is always like, well, you have to play in my home because
Where I live, yeah.
you know,
why
I
not?
mean, Colombia does the same because we
Yeah.
play in Barranquilla, which is the opposite, which is the lowest elevation. super hot. Every team goes there and they are like dehydrated and all
Yeah,
that.
Well, we have the same thing here whenever teams have to go play the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, correct.
You got the high elevation as well. Yep,
exactly.
sure.
And then Bolivia, man, they have the best soccer players. The Platini, Diablo Echeverri,
Exactly.
and
But
then Platini Sanchez, I think it was.
yeah, but it was, you know, it's embarrassing to say that it feels so long ago.
So he's saying that we are old because that was our youth, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That was like the 90s. And
you know, we are. I realize that
Yes.
time is going very, very fast, and you see it in your kids. You know,
yeah.
you see it in your kids.
You should look at the Diablo Echeverri, man. That guy was quite a player. And I mean, Diablo is the devil, right? So it's, yeah.
It has to mean something.
But anyway, so let's go back to Germany. So you never really left completely Bolivia, but you feel that you are, you know, that, that your place is there. And then,
Right.
I mean, the other thing, obviously, that we have talked in the past is family, right? Because then family start becoming a. So how is the story of your wife and your kids?
Well, it was actually very easy because my wife is also Bolivian. I met her actually 3 months before I left for Germany.
Oh, okay.
And
That's normally how that sort of thing works.
That happened
Yeah,
to me 6 months
that's
before
it.
going to
Yep,
Pittsburgh.
that's it.
And interestingly, is at this moment, you know, you make the decision.
Sure.
And you know, there is this saying that this long distance love, all the four are happy, right?
Yep.
And then is where you say, yeah, we tried to do that, and it worked, but it wasn't working at the end of the time. So because we were just struggling to be apart from each other, and then luckily she applied for a scholarship. She went there.
Man, it's like the same story as me. I mean, I went to Pitt 6 months before with my wife, and then we were apart for 3 years, and then she applied to Pitt, got the same scholarship, and while I finished my PhD, she was doing her master's. So parallel life, Freddy.
For me, you know, for me, or you can confirm that that's actually a blessing, because at home, of course, I do see that.
Well, you work a lot on your PhD when you are alone and you have nothing else in your life than just studying. You learn a lot, right?
That's it.
Exactly. But it's actually a blessing, and at home it was very fine. Then I had a blessing, for example, that my oldest daughter she was born in Switzerland. Then we moved to Chile. Then the second daughter was born in Chile, and and then we decided to go back to Germany, and then they are growing up there ever since.
Very cool.
And I have the pleasure to be here. Just
so okay. So now let's relate all this into the States. So how the US appear on your picture? When you start doing business here, and how DFI also appear in your life?
Yeah, you know, when I went back to Germany, I joined a company called ISSMGE. I don't know if you know. ISSMGE is a company that is known everywhere. Yep. And because of the interest at the moment was also set in the American market, then we had to do a lot of things with the International Society of Micropilots first.
Okay.
Then with the DFI, actually, that was the first time I came over here, and
so that's very interesting that you came that way.
Yeah, it was like that. And actually, when I left ISSMGE for another company, that's a dark part in my history. I was very sad because, you know, I said, oh, no more ISM, no more DFI. And then I had a chance to get back in the path of the deep foundations industry.
Sure.
And I'm really happy that it just working fine, you know.
And now you're here. And so you're speaking at the conference this year. So tell us about your paper and your presentation.
Well,
we
apply. Well, in you know, in the pandemic year, and that's actually that was related to the topic of the first conference today.
Yeah,
that a lot of governments, they decided to, oh, what's going on? You know, we have to inject money into the economy. Otherwise, everything is going to collapse.
It's all going to fall apart, right?
And at the moment, the Austrian government injected a lot of money in the infrastructure, which actually was overdue.
Yeah.
But the moment they were actually, there was a project, and I'm going to talk about it tomorrow in more detail. There is along the Rhine, that's actually one of the largest rivers in the world, and more importantly, rivers in the world. The problem is that it is actually not exempt from being threatened by natural disasters, especially caused by extreme weather events, such heavy rainfall. And there is a project to increase the discharge capacity, to protect to increase the flood protection of the area. And by doing that, they had to affect a lot of bridges. I will explain that because actually you had a defined size of the flow channel, and they had to increase the size of that flow channel. And that affected exactly, and that affected directly the bridge infrastructure.
Okay.
And there was one bridge that we had the pleasure to work with that was executed with our piles, and I'm going to talk about it. Actually, this was very challenging because the ground conditions were not the easiest, and the way the company that was actually executing the jobs did it was spectacular. And I just want to share that with the community here and see. If
that's awesome. That's awesome. So so that's cool. But you're also doing other things with DFI, right? Like on the committees and
yes,
like
well, not necessarily with the DFI. From the very beginning, I was very involved with the ISM.
Okay.
And that was back in the days where the ISM was also part of DFI. Now the ISM is some sort of little sister.
Correct.
And I am actually more involved with the ISM. I actually I am a delegate, a part of the steering committee, and I'm very happy for that. But of course, the DFI is always a great community to join.
Yeah.
And I can only recommend to take a look at it, to get involved. Especially if you see, for example, the enthusiasm that comes from the DFI.
I
DFI,
agree. I mean, I think that's something that is pretty cool of DFI, which is that enthusiasm, right? I mean, it's a lot of excitement. And I mean, in this conference, you can feel it, right? I mean, and it's also, because I think it has something unique. And it's like, we were looking at the statistics at launch, right? How much is like suppliers? How much is contractors? How much is, consulting and academics? And to me, I don't think there is any other organization really. I mean, I love all organizations and I wear all the jackets, right? But this one has a really cool mix, and it provides a special energy and a special theme and topic that keep it very interesting.
That's actually something that I am amazed that you have a conference which is as large as this is every single year, and yet the interest doesn't decrease.
No. And I think
it's spectacular.
Yes, and I think it goes all through DFI, the planning committees and things like that, also on keeping it fresh, right? And moving it around. And I mean, last year we were on the East Coast. I mean, literally, we were on the East Coast, and now we're in the West Coast. So it's also like looking for different markets and looking for developing different things. And one thing for us, like as keep going, is that we also get to know other places and get to know other local. There is a conference always have a big participation from local people, and then people that travel. So I think all that makes it.
But you see that every single year, almost 1,000 people attend the conference. It's actually the same. It's very steady.
Which to me surprised me. It's always 1,000 people, right? And it's like
which is great. So, it doesn't matter where it is.
It doesn't matter, but that shows which is the penetration of the DFI in the community, and also. It's not, the DFI is not only a place where you go to see and to be seen. No, it's a place where you go to learn, you go to share, you go to meet friends.
You go to drink with friends.
You go to drink with friends. And their friends.
It's a nice group. It's a nice community.
No, and you meet guys from Germany, right? I mean, come on, right?
It will always be from Bolivia. We will always battle for the World Cup.
It is not every day that you have the pleasure to meet these characters.
Characters is the right. Actually,
legends.
That's probably legends. Absolutely,
that's a stretch,
he thinks he's a legend, but legend in his own mind, right?
I do think I follow game day since 2 years already.
Yeah,
years?
There you go. This is the third year.
And I like it. I always wanted to meet
really? In person. You should have asked us, man, because
I think one of my favorite things, like having a little bit of perspective, like being in the industry for over 20 years. There are so many interesting people.
Yes.
In this game.
Everyone is an interest.
And so one of the things that Sebastian and I have really tried to focus on is meeting new people, the WiDF grant winners, the award winners, I mean, you could come to a lot of these conferences, Geo Institute here, and you hear the people, you know the names, right?
Yes,
but it's like, I like meeting new people and interesting people.
And it's an always inclusive group. I mean, it just gets bigger and bigger. So But anyway, it was very nice, man, to stop by.
Thank you for allowing me to be here.
No, absolutely.
It's great.
Look forward to your presentation tomorrow.
Yes.
You are all invited.
All right, very good.
Muchas gracias, team.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
All right. So I think we're ready for John, right?
That's it.
I'm going to jump in here.
Okay. Okay, all right.
So we have a college game day announcement.
Uh-oh.
This is kind of actually
sad news for some people. You might cheer a little bit.
Okay.
Bobby Knight just passed away.
Bobby Knight. That's conflict. Being a Purdue alum.
I know, conflicted.
Being at games, watching him throw chairs and things like that. That's a sad thing for the college basketball world.
Yes, it is.
That's
why I figured we're on game day. I had to come
No.
in.
Appreciate it. Well, you are a recorder.
Yeah,
You were
no,
our
I mean-
first guest ever, so it's natural that it's not by.
couldn't have waited until we were done. Had to just jump right in here and bring the mood down.
Well, when you say the name, I was like, "Was he one of the old presidents of the
came
DFI?"
in, man. I got to be timely with this. It's,
we are a little bit of a journalist endeavor here.
you have
Kind of.
millions of
Saying
fans,
millions
watching.
of viewers,
You have
millions of viewers.
viewers watching.
That's it.
We have to get the information out.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's true. All right.
Hey, but
Well-
thanks for stopping by, man.
Sebastian,
That's it.
always good to see you.
You will always be our first guest, right? So
Oh yes,
That's it.
we need to give you a special jacket. First person that
That's
has
it.
paid on us.
You get your 3-year pin.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, now we're ready. For
John. All right. Thank you very much for rescuing us from having McGettigan hang around any longer than necessary.
All right, so now we're talking big
That's it.
levels here. We're going to legendary status, right?
That's it. Keep your eye no
Legend in my
direct
own mind.
no direct eye contact.
A guy that needs no introduction.
John, how you doing,
Absolutely,
man?
right?
I'm good, Chris. How are you?
Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
This
You're
is
welcome.
what I've seen you in pretty much every time zone
That's
now.
true.
In
That's true.
the last
Lately,
couple
lately
months.
we've been running into each other.
That's it. Well, Saskatchewan. I mean, start with that. We're up at the Canadian Geotech Conference. Was that just to go see Saskatchewan, or were you up there for a specific reason? Or
Well, my girlfriend was speaking at the conference.
Okay.
And so
Well, that's a good
it's
reason.
that'll do it.
Yeah, it sounded like someplace I'd never been before, and
Okay.
so I like Canada in general. But I turned out not to like Saskatoon that much. It was kind of out in
So,
the prairie. But
yeah, I think the thing that was disappointing to me was it had nothing to do with Saskatoon. It was just we got there and it
the
rained.
weather was
It
bad,
rained every day.
and we had a 40-mile-an-hour wind.
You have to
there
manage
for
your
a while.
expectations, man. What were you thinking? Right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Go to Canada in the
So,
early winter.
well, anyway, congratulations.
let's go
into the
biggest stuff,
let's
man.
start with right on the top.
Well, I'll start with this because I think what John is doing right now, to me, is amazing, right? I mean, let's just go. We may have younger people that know much about John, but I mean, John it's a legend in the industry, right? Has done a whole career on what it was Hayward Baker, then Keller, right? And for the DFI industry, he means the world, right? I mean, it's somebody that has been involved forever, right? It was past president
Yep.
in all committees. And then he's getting what I consider is the biggest award that you can get on DFI, right? So he's getting it tomorrow, right?
I am. Thank you.
And that in itself, and we were talking a few weeks ago and a few months ago because we're also coordinating for IFCE.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that award in itself, I was very pleased when Tom Richards got it a few years ago. That award in itself, it's a big accomplishment, right? And to me, it's something to reflect back, right, and say to celebrate the career that you had, and
Yep.
You retired a few years ago, but you will never truly retire, right? Because that's
I'm
your-
not actually.
that's your
I've yet to actually meet anyone in this industry that when they retire, that means they actually
No,
retire.
but you see, I have more information on the subject because I'm a groupie of John. I'm a fan of John, and he's gonna be all creeped out when I say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. He wrote an article when he was the FI president a few years ago, and he was talking about retirement, and he was telling the story. Just listen how personal I'm gonna get in 2 seconds. He was talking about his dad, and he was talking about the way that his dad kind of, in some respect, mismanaged retirement, and the way that when he retired, he lost the essence of his life, and then he passed away a few years, and then in this column that I recommend everyone to read it, John kind of goes into that, right, and saying it's like, how do you manage retirement? Because you cannot just, if you have put your life in something that you love, you cannot just stop one day, because then it's like you're missing part of your essence or your relevance. But at the same time, at some point,
Sure.
you have other interests in your life, right? So I mean, he has the baseball teams that he coach, he has the cars that he collects and restore, and you also need to dedicate time on that, right? So I mean,
Yep.
I think so. Okay, keep this in mind, right? All this, I know it sounds creepy, I know all the data, but it's all right. So keep all that in mind. Then John retires or slows down a little bit, right? And we have him on DFI45 on the on the family session that we have, and you were telling awesome stories there. And then all of a sudden, he started getting all these awards. And this one in itself, the one that he's getting tomorrow in itself, it's an awesome award, right?
Yep.
But then I'm on the organizing committee in IFCE, and then we have the Osterberg lecture, right? And then he is, right? And it's like, holy shit, like how many awards? I mean, we are talking, these are like lifetime achievement awards that you get one and you are lucky in your life.
Yeah.
But now he's going for like a personal collection, right? So it's like one after the other after the other. So
it's like that year where Tiger Woods held all four
yes, exactly.
of the majors at the same time.
I mean,
that's what we're talking about.
I mean, you are going into that. I mean, this is the time to brag about it. But you are getting this award tomorrow at the DFI. You are getting the Osterberg lecture on IFC. And then what else are you getting?
Harry Snowell Jr.
Harry Snowell in the Geo
Jr.
Congress, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
that to me,
Big
man,
year.
that
Big
it's
year,
it's
yeah.
3 major awards in a period of, we're talking like 5 months or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is that? Try and put that into words, right? Like you think back on a career you've had. I would argue that Sebastian and I are probably mid-career, right? I mean, we still got a while to go in this game, so we don't know what the end game is for us. But when you have a year like this with these honors, what does that mean? Like when you look back on your career, what?
It's pretty humbling, Chris, to be honest with you. I mean, all I tried to do was my job, right?
Mhm.
I loved earth retention, soil nailing, micropiles, grouting, drilling, all that type of stuff. And it's kind of, you know, it gets under your skin. It gets to be part of your personality.
Yeah.
And so it kind of takes over your life a little bit, because I lived on airplanes for 35 years. I've got 2 million air miles.
Wow.
I don't doubt that. Yep.
So I was gold medallion on Delta for 30 consecutive years.
Wow.
So that pretty much means
That was
you
his
live on
All
an
right,
airplane.
so what you're telling me is that hitting 1K on United this year isn't that big of an accomplishment. Okay, I got it.
So I don't know. It was my lot in life, and I was fortunate that micropiles were taking off, and it was something that I was very interested in, and was a big part of the initial design and construction of. I was in the right place at the right time. And then the same thing happened with soil nailing.
Right.
You know, when I was a young engineer, you couldn't design soil nailing because we didn't have the computing power. So you had to design it from like graphs. You know, you take nomographs and like go, okay, you know, do I fit in this category, and this spacing and that spacing?
Yeah, there was no finite element anything.
No,
nope.
no. And so you know, the Caltrans program SNAIL was a revelation that enabled us to use relatively high powered, it was low powered at that time, but computing. And so I just kind of caught the wave with those two things, with micropiles and soil nailing. And then they took off, and the businesses that I was involved with first with Nicholson and then with Hayward, Baker and Keller, we did well because we were doing those things, and people bought a lot of them, and so it was very successful financially, and but I was on the road a lot.
But I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story that John knows because I told him that. But that shows the character that he has and why he deserves the award that he deserves. And it just shows the personality. So he's describing how busy he was, right?
Yep.
And not having time for anything. So I started my relationship with John before he knew that I was actually started my relationship with him. So it was like the year 2006. That is 17 years ago, right?
That's unfortunate when you do the math like that.
I know.
That's not good.
So I was starting my career, and I was very interested on soil nails and micropiles, and I was looking for a potential. I mean, I was working already at the company that I work actually, and we were looking into a micropile option, right, for a bridge. But I think at that point I knew a little bit about micropiles, and I knew the manuals from FHWA. So, but you know, I didn't really knew much about the constructibility and all that. So imagine that is a Wednesday at 5 p.m. It was definitely the end of the day. And then I was looking online, and I looked like Hayward Baker, right? And I said, well, I'm sure I can talk to somebody that can explain me prices and stuff like that. So I called like to the office in Pennsylvania or something like that. And then the person there said, well, the person that in this office knows a little bit about is not here right now. I'm going to transfer you to our main office. But at that point, I'm not even understanding what is going on. It's just one person is transferring to the other one. And then I start asking, and they say, well, I'm not really the person for this. Let me transfer you to somebody else. And then little that I know, they transfer to him, right? So, I mean, by that time, it's probably like 5:30 p.m. I have no idea as a young engineer who I'm talking to, right?
Right.
It's just a guy that answered the phone, right? So I started asking, and he was in no rush, and he explained me, right? And I said, well, how do you do this, and how the casing goes, and how the bit goes, and the casing. And he took all the time in the world without having a clue who the hell he was talking to, right?
Right.
Because it's just a guy that is being transferred.
Yeah, now we probably would just hung up.
Yes,
yeah, that's
exactly.
it. That's
well,
it.
And keep in mind, he's a guy with an accent, right? And
Yeah,
like, who
right.
knows with this? You know, and then he took all the time. He gave me all the stuff that I needed. And then I copy like in a little memo, right? At that point, we used to copy that, and it's like a memo for the call. And it's like, John and all that. And then years later, I started becoming involved in Geo Institute and DFI and all that. And I started seeing John doing all the stuff that he was doing. And I'm like, that name sounds familiar. So I actually went back and looked, and it's incredible because to me, that shows as you say, the interest and the attitude that you have for what you were doing and the love that you have. And I mean, obviously, we all work because we get paid, right? And we need money, but it goes beyond that. I mean, it's just the love for the technology and it's the love for the industry. And
it's the difference between a job and a career.
Correct.
Right? That's it.
And it's the effort
good point.
Stopping what you are doing, which I'm sure at that point, 5:30 on whatever day it was, you were busy because otherwise you would not even be in the office, right? And stopping that and just spending time with somebody that is really nobody, right? And just that you don't even know, and explaining and all that. So I mean, I will always be appreciative for that, and I think it really shows the kind of person that you are, and why you're getting all these major awards, and because the industry recognizes that, and everyone. I mean, definitely in DFI, everyone has seen the career that you did, and how much you did for the institute, right? Because
that's just the thing, right? It's a big part of this industry is experience, and it's those of us that have gained experience over time being able to pass that experience down to the next generation of engineers.
It's also the work, like the physical work that is like John and Dan Brown and that generation, like say, like they created this. Like I'm sure when you started this conference, it was not 1,000 people in the Seattle convention. I mean, just think it's ridiculous. Man.
So my first DFI, Sebastian, was Atlanta it's either 87 or 88. I think there was about 100 people.
Yeah.
And so there was a guy, Jerry Stedding, and his wife. And when you checked in at the desk, they had a little list. They both had cigarettes burning,
That's
in an ashtray, which it would never happen here again.
No.
But it was a totally different experience.
No, and I'm sure that is for you tomorrow when you get your award. I mean, and reflecting on that, it's saying like you and many other like you created this, right? I mean, you created this group that we have, and it's awesome as the group that we are now to be able to recognize that, right? And say, hey, dude, like we appreciate what you did because like we're standing on the shoulders of giants, right? It's a cliche, but it's true. I mean, for us, it's easy to keep this going thanks to all.
It's easy, but it also creates for those of us that still have a while to go in this game. There's an obligation.
Yes, and motivation too, right? Because it's like
to try and follow the example.
I would recommend to young people to write papers, give presentations. I've given presentations about micropiles, earth retention, grouting in 36 different states.
Wow.
Yeah, all right.
We talked about doing a lot of travel. That was part of that. But, ASCE, university presentations, etc. So, that's...
You can see a pattern that I'm trying to follow, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
No, but it's awesome. So, but tell us, 3 secrets of your life, the success that you had, 3 things, 3 non-negotiables. I mean, 3 things that you say, if you want to succeed in the industry, these are 3 things that you have to have. All the learnings that you have through all these years. I mean, I'm talking like stuff like commitment, right? You have to show, like you have to be hard work, dedication. 3 secrets that you say, well, if I have to leave you 3 things on DFI, this is what I learned.
Wow. I would say that you can never work hard enough. I mean,
I never heard that.
It's hard sometimes to at 5:30 open up a new file, but if you've made a commitment, you got to follow through with the commitment, and don't miss deadlines. I always answer my phone. A lot of people don't answer the phone. I've never had a full voicemail on my cell phone in my life. There's a lot of people that don't answer their phone and aren't timely in returning phone calls
Right.
or emails. So I return my emails, I return my phone calls, and that's part of, you know, the working hard thing. But and then I would say give back to the industry.
Okay.
I've said this before in Geo Institute magazine, but for every hour or every dollar that you spend doing a volunteer thing like, you know, the local state ASCE, DFI, ADSC, etc., you get back so much more, both personally and in business. You really do. I mean, and that's not an original thought. Jean-Louis Briot from Texas A&M has said that for years, and it's so true. And I don't know. I worked with Donald Bruce when I was at Nicholson for years, and I liked his approach of getting out into the industry, giving talks, presenting case histories with a little humor thrown in. And I think it really goes a long way from just a dry presentation. And I don't know.
You can see my part, man. It's like I'm copying him in so many levels, man.
You know, I didn't realize that till you said that, but I would agree.
It's exactly the same you were doing, like 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, and with the humor and
well, and I guess, okay, so those three things. Now you touch into something. So the same way that you have been a role model for many of us. Who was your role model? Like, what group of people are we talking? I mean, you mentioned Don Bruce, right?
Yeah, because you go back. I think we talked about it. You go back to the law engineering days, right?
I do. I would start in college because, you know, I went to the University of Illinois, which is a pretty famous geotechnical engineering school, and it was even more famous when I was there because there were a lot of famous people. Ralph Peck retired when I was a freshman, but he came back every semester and gave presentations, which were great. But I took foundation engineering from M.T. Davison.
Yeah, okay.
You know who the Davison criteria?
Yep, absolutely.
He was my foundations professor.
Okay.
Interesting guy, super smart guy.
Even more meaningful than
for the Osterberg. But so I mean, it started in school. There were a lot of other really great professors there, concrete, Clyde Kessler, structural engineering professors, etc. But there was a guy named Ireland who taught all the courses, Herbert Ireland, while Peck was out consulting. But and then I worked at, like Chris said, at Law Engineering, and there were some great people at Law Engineering. The guy who hired me, his name was Ken Akins. He was a tremendous mentor. Another guy, Bruce Cavan, who unfortunately has passed away, but I would give credit to Joe Nicholson, who was the younger brother of Pete and who hired me, and then Jim Henry at Hayward Baker, Bob Rubright, Mike Terry, George Burke. They were, you know, George won this award. He won the DSA awards. I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, but I don't know. It's been a great career. I've made some good career choices in the companies I worked for, and it's been great.
No, that's awesome. I mean, and something important too is, I mean, I know we're celebrating a lot and we are kind of looking back, but this is not the end, right? I mean, like, you are still going.
I hope not.
Exactly. So I mean, I think that's the awesome part, right? Celebrating this, but it's still going, right? I mean, it's still coming to these events, still working in your terms, right? Not having to deal with a lot of the stress of many things, but it's still being
I hate to
fly.
I hate to fly anymore. So.
Yeah, so
I have 2 million air miles. So.
No, but it's awesome. And
well, I mean, there's not really another way to get to Saskatchewan.
I know,
unfortunately.
So, or Seattle for me.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, tomorrow I'll be the happiest person clapping the loudest there, because I mean, it really means a lot, and I think you absolutely deserve it, and it's awesome to see that you are enjoying this, right? And you are in good health, enjoying all this, and you are, it's awesome. It's really good. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you,
appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
All right, John.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
All right.
All right.
Excellent.
Walter, ready?
Man, busy day on game day.
Yeah. Good job.
All right.
We keep going on. We keep
Thanks,
going
man.
on Latin American guests today. Taking over. So we go from one legend to the other, man. It's maintaining the level. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Todo bien?
Sí.
Bienvenido.
Escribí que mi esposa se sentía mal. Missing action.
Ah, okay, okay.
Por eso. Better?
All right, so let's start with Walter, right?
Well, let's start off with me apologizing. I mean, we also met in Saskatchewan
Yes.
a couple weeks ago, and I was looking very forward to coming down to Mexico for the event you guys had
You told me that.
a couple
yes.
weeks ago. And a big site, well, there's a big prospective job in Utah that it made more sense for me to go scout out a very big prospective job.
So that's delayed or what?
No, it's not delayed. It's getting ready to go on the street for bid, but there was
okay,
a site.
okay.
So I actually have a legitimate reason for not coming,
Okay.
but I still was.
We never remove him from the chat.
They never removed me
Text chat
from the
that we
group
have, so
chat.
he saw
So
all the pictures. Of
I saw
event.
I saw the margaritas. I saw the
Yes.
San Angel Inn. I saw all of it, and I felt really bad about myself there for a couple of.
Well, in a couple
So-
of years, you can go again.
We'll come
Yes.
again. Yeah,
Just
next
for-
time.
All go, man.
Absolutely.
For the audience, we met in Saskatchewan, that's the capital of the province, for the Canadian Geotechnical Conference.
Yes.
That was the event.
Yep.
Well, next time, Chris.
All right, but let's
You're
go in
very
order,
welcome.
Walter. So let's
Absolutely.
okay. So Walter, you are born in Mexico, right?
Yes,
As a
sir.
young person, and then you went to what? Where do you do your undergrad and all that? UNAM?
No, I do it in the Ibero-American University.
Okay.
That's a private university. And afterwards, I made my master's and doctorate studies in
But
the
let's go
National
even slowly.
University.
So okay, so that's when you went to
Uh-huh.
UNAM. So you start on the industry. What brought you to civil engineering and what brought you to geotechnical engineering?
Okay, that's a simple story. My father is a geotechnical engineer as well.
So easy, right?
Yes.
This is actually our first guest that didn't want to be a
Yes,
structural
exactly.
engineer,
Yes.
environmental engineer, and landed as a
not,
geotech.
not so fast. Not so fast. No. At first, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a physicist.
Mm.
But a friend of my
really?
father,
Yes.
another geotechnical engineer, convinced me that it will be a difficult task to do, especially in Mexico.
Okay.
Perhaps if I was in the US, it will be easier, but it was not.
Okay.
So I entered into this civil engineering school, and I started working with my father. He had a small the foundations company at that time as well as a helper. Then as a,
and it was operation was in Mexico City mostly.
mostly in Mexico City.
Or around Mexico
At that
City.
time, only Mexico City.
Okay.
Afterwards, I started with some surveying jobs
Okay.
because I took the surveying class.
Yeah, correct.
That's why. And soon I was in charge of some small jobs, mainly
okay.
driven piles at the beginning, and afterwards drill shafts.
Okay.
That
So, but
was-
one second. So this is between your undergrad and your master's,
No,
or you just
during
went?
my bachelor studies.
Oh, in the bachelor. You are
Yeah,
not
yeah.
even done yet. Okay,
I was
okay.
19 when I was started in this business
Wow.
in
Wow.
1981.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right.
So
All right. So then you continue worrying, and then you go to UNAM, and then do your master's.
no, I spent like 3 years only working.
Oh, in between.
in
like just
between,
working.
yes.
Well, that's great, right? I mean, it
Just
gives you
because
a lot of good
I
experience.
did several other things.
Okay.
Sewer, pumping systems,
Okay.
and also get into soil mechanics lab.
Okay.
First as a helper, and then again
Okay,
as as an engineer, and in some field works of soil mechanics,
Okay.
instrumentation, piezometers,
Oh, wow. Okay.
borings, things like that. I spent like 3 years in those
Uh-huh.
kind of work. So that gave me a good background for the graduate studies.
Yes. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And then after that, you go back to UNAM and you do your master's. Right?
Masters and doctorate.
And a doctorate. Yes.
Yes.
Correct. And then and then you continue working in Mexico, right? And so what's the story? I mean, after that company, how did you continue evolving in the market?
Okay, I spent in that company, my father's company, 20 years. That's
wow.
from 81 to 2000.
Okay.
And I had the opportunity to do a job in Central America that will be in Panama, in
Okay.
Colon City, actually. We made a wharf over there for a Asian company, Evergreen. So initially it was only the pile driving, but afterwards I was hired for making the whole structure of the wharf.
Okay.
So that was interesting to work over there. And after 20 years of working with him, I started my own firm,
Yes, which
Mhm.
is
Pilotec.
Pilotec right now.
Mhm.
Okay. And then you have been, so Pilotec now has been how many years?
23.
23 since 20. Wow, man, that's amazing.
I'm with the Millennium.
Yes, correct. All right. So that is your education, and that's also your professional practice. But one of the most interesting aspects that you have too is like all the professional society that you have done, not only in Mexico, but also like abroad, right? I mean, you obviously you are very active on the Mexican Geotechnical Society, right? And also in the International Society of Soil Mechanics and Foundations, right?
Okay, I can tell you this.
So how that started? Like
after I graduate from the bachelor school, I entered the Mexican Soil Mechanics Society, that was called at the time. And after some years, 4 years or so, I entered to the board as a voting member.
Okay.
A few years later as secretary, a few years later as vice president. And finally in 2008, I was elected president.
Okay.
Next year, I changed the name of the society to Mexican Society for Geotechnical Engineering, not soil mechanics only, but geotechnical engineering. At that time, the vice president for North America of the International Society for Soil Mechanics and Geotechnical Engineering, ISSMGE, was in charge of Mexico. So I was in touch closely with the vice president of at that time.
Okay.
He was one of my professors, so we're still very close friends.
Okay.
And I saw that that was an interesting job, a lot of traveling. And after some years, and now I became the current vice president for North America.
Yes, correct. And yeah, which and you also have been involved. I mean, we were in Mexico with him like a week and a half ago, so I have all this fresh in my memory. But
right.
You're also active with like the Colegio de Ingenieros Civiles, right?
Yes, but before that, I will mention the Deep Foundation Institute.
Oh yeah, how DFI comes into play.
Yeah,
yes. For it, right? So.
Perhaps you don't know, but before the internet, it was very difficult to get information of these kind of things in our country. So once I saw this old magazine or bulletin from DFI called Fulcrum. Perhaps you have heard of it or saw it in a museum, perhaps. So I saw this, and there was a conference in New York City with the joint, like a joint venture between the Europeans and Americans.
Okay.
That was in the year 2000, and it was a big conference. That was my first one, and I became a member since. Next year, I get involved in this Glory Wall Committee.
Yes.
It was chaired by Ray Paulette at that time. And I saw an opportunity because in Mexico we have some experience in that area. And afterwards, I joined the Women in Deep Foundations committee and in the energetic something committee as well.
Yes, the energy. Yeah. All right. So then you progress on DFI. I mean, you obviously are having a lot of parallel professional societies, but then you started the conference, right? Like, I was completely impressed when I went there like a week and a half ago with Matt and all that. I mean, without Chris, because
we've already covered that.
But I mean, what I'm saying is it's a really interesting event, right? I mean, it's a huge event, and you have more and more people. You also managed to get DFI involved, Geo Institute involved. I mean, we're talking, these are big groups, big organizations, and it's a joint event between DFI, Geo Institute, and the Mexican Geotech Society. You also manage that is actually at the Colegio de Ingenieros Civiles, right? So it's like you are really like merging a lot of parties. You know what I'm saying? And you are also getting support, right? Then you start inviting people, and in my opinion, it becomes one of the most attractive events to go, right? I mean, there are many companies that are probably from the US that are trying to expand into Mexico, and I think there are many of us that I may not have a financial objective right now in Mexico, but I think it's super cool to go to Mexico, right?
Absolutely.
So it's awesome that you created that, and it's growing. And I think obviously for you there is benefiting the local audience, but for DFI it's also doing a lot of good work, right? Because it's allowing DFI members to expand and try to reach business outside of their market, right? And you could see it like the exhibitors that we have. It was amazing, right? I mean, you have local companies, but when you work on the exhibit room that day, you have Menard and you have Nicholson, you have Geo Rock. I mean, you have these players that are also here. So how is that story? I mean, how all that organized and came into your mind to put together a conference, something like that?
Okay. It started in 2011 as an idea. And at that time, I was the only member of the organizing committee besides Teresa Engler, that she was involved since the beginning. And the first times, even the president of DFI went over there and delivered a speech during the opening ceremony. And we didn't have a show like an exhibition. no
Okay.
booths,
So
etc.
it was just like the technical session. And that's
Yes, and we were lacking also from papers, only presentations
okay.
at that time.
Okay.
And I was the orchestra man. I
Yeah.
had to move the things, coordinate everything, be the presenter, etc. But when the time goes by, other people get involved.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say that too, because I mean, being fair, like right now you have an amazing organizing committee, right?
No,
You
no,
have
no.
Mariana too. And
That's right.
Yeah.
Now it's growing, the people involved. And we do this every 2 years,
Yes.
except in 2019 that the Pan American Conference was held in Mexico and in Cancun particularly,
Yeah.
and I was chair of the conference. So
Okay.
I could not do both things
could not
at
do
the
it.
same year. I tried to put
You haven't figured out cloning either.
Cloning, yeah.
not today, not today, Chris.
We'll worry about that next
I
week.
don't know if that will be a good idea. If you
Yeah.
ask my wife, she will say it's probably not a good one, but still. And so we skipped 2019, and
And
we
then last year you kind of catch up, right? Because you have it
That's
last year
right.
and then you have it this year.
we'll catch up this year, but we will do it again in 2 years.
In 2 years.
Mhm.
And I think, I mean, anyone from DFI that has the chance to go, it's a really well put show. And I mean, everything it's amazing. And you know, just going to Mexico City and seeing and the presentations were great. I mean, you have a mix of people presenting from other parts outside Mexico, but you also have a lot of local projects, right? And for many of us that were from outside, it was great to just get that flavor and see that. And I also believe that it's becoming a big thing also for like academics, right? I mean, there is a lot of presence from the UNAM and different universities, but then at the same time you have contractors. And I mean, it's
Yeah.
you are definitely developing the whole team of DFI, which is finding common ground. Like you're absolutely finding common ground,
Exactly.
not only inside Mexico, but also like with other countries. So yeah, I mean, I look forward to keep going there, man, and keep enjoying, because I think it's something that is cooking and it's becoming bigger and bigger. And we
Yeah.
need to take Chris. So
Chris,
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to coming next time. Yes.
Okay, piece of advice. I asked Sebastian to stay in Mexico City for an additional couple of days to make some tourism.
and I
you know.
regret I didn't have the time, but I definitely
and
stay.
he stood me up. So when you come, please get a couple of days earlier
Yes.
or
Okay.
stay a couple of days afterwards.
Fair
So we can
No,
show
and you know what is the
something
worst
around.
part? I love Formula One. And then we were there, and then the following week was the race.
The next
I'm
week,
like,
yes.
next time we have to make it the same week so we can stay and watch the race. It's no, but it was great, and I think it's very impressive everything you are doing at all levels, right? I mean, the work, but also like being involved in so many professional societies, right?
Mhm.
And running this and organizing events and things like that. I mean, it's something definitely that we appreciate and DFI really, because it's people like you that what we were talking before with John. I mean, it's people like you guys that make it grow
Yeah.
and become a
Especially,
bigger-
I mean, to me on the international level, it's one thing if here in the States we're operating in our own silo. In Mexico, people are, and in different countries are operating in their own silo, but it's that ability to kind of bridge those borders, right?
Bringing common ground.
Understand what people
Finding
are
common
doing
ground.
in different countries. Maybe that some of that is stuff we should be doing here. Maybe there's
Yeah.
stuff that when we come down to Mexico and Americans are presenting at the conference there, folks down there are like, oh, we're not doing that, right? And that's how
Yeah,
the business
absolutely.
continues to grow.
Absolutely.
I can tell you something else
Sure.
about the Association of Civil Engineers.
Mhm.
I entered in that association in 2001, mainly because they created a panel for geotechnical experts, something
Okay.
like the Academy of Geoprofessionals
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you're involved
correct.
with.
Yes.
So I was in the first board, let's say, of that committee. It was interesting. I was the youngest member of that one, and I was in charge of preparing the tests, for instance.
Mhm.
So it was interesting. And after 21 years, I decided to quit the committee because I have too many things
Okay,
on my
okay,
hand.
Too many. Okay.
So right now we don't have too many people that are in that thing, but around 100.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
For 20 years, it's not so much, but
Yes, correct.
but it's very strict process to follow.
yes, correct.
And I personally am looking forward to get into the Academy of Geoprofessionals.
And yes, and no, and I
Mhm.
mean, and we talk about it. I mean, this is awesome because it's in record, right? So I can keep applying pressure on him to apply to the Academy of Geoprofessionals, which you also have the
That's correct. Yep.
DGE, and it's an excellent program. Board certification for geotech
Yep.
engineers,
Mhm.
and that's part that we are. I mean, I'm on the board of trustees, and part of what we are trying to also grow is the international presence, right? I mean, it's not only for the US. You know, you can be registered even if you are from another country, and we will certify that you are a true expert on geotech engineer, and that brings a lot of value to different owners, especially for big infrastructure projects, right? That you definitely want to make sure that you have an expert on the job that you're trying to do. So
with international level, of
at
course.
the international level, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, awesome. That's great. That's great. Well, thank you very much for stopping by and spending time with us.
Thanks a lot, Sebastian, Chris.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's good to see you here in Seattle, and I hope to
Yes.
see you in Mexico City
Oh,
in a couple of
absolutely, man.
years.
You can put me on that
It's
roster
on,
for
it's on
every
record, you
single
know.
year.
It's
Yeah.
on record.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have
no,
the time of my life. I honestly, I enjoy that, that presentation and the whole event. And I don't know, I like Mexico a lot in terms of like the prestige of civil engineering. It reminds me a lot of like when I was growing up in Colombia, my dad was a civil engineer, my grandfather. And for me, it was always that prestige of saying that you're a civil engineer. And in Mexico, with all the sistema, like the colegios, right? So it's like the ASC, Chris.
Yeah.
But it's more like in a federal level. I mean, it's imagine like if you have an ASC chapter, right? But there is not like a federal one, right? It's just like everything. But it's so prestigious, and you go to the institution, and it really shows the value for what we do, and the way that, in my opinion, should be recognized. Right?
No, and I mean, I can speak to that. I believe it was last weekend. There's the student, you spoke at it a couple times, the student run organization down in Peru.
Oh yeah, correct.
And so I presented to them down there, I think 2 weekends ago. And what I found very interesting was the way they addressed me. When we would have these calls beforehand. Mr. Engineer, Mr. Right? It's a title that's
like
held
we are not a commodity
in very high esteem elsewhere in the world, and that's kind of an interesting thing to see.
It's an interesting thing,
to hear sometimes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys for having me.
Muchas gracias. Siempre bienvenido.
Thank you, Chris.
Walter.
Thank you.
All right.
You're next.
All
Excellent.
All right.
We go Jules, and then we go Lynda, right? All right.
Is that okay?
She's
Excellent.
watching it live. You see?
That's it. Well, we need people watching live. Now we have 1,000,001 viewers. There you go. Pump it up there. Jules.
Where's my makeup artist?
The budget is still in negotiations.
They cut our budget a little bit this year, so we don't have any.
The most we got is Matt bringing us water.
That's it.
That's what we were able to negotiate.
Yeah, changing out Walter's
I'm
water.
just really glad to see.
Oh, I have to get closer.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see Matt not wearing that. Right, we live in a day and age where everyone's offended by everything.
Yes.
Matt dressed up as a Notre Dame leprechaun last night. That was offensive. I mean, that was truly offensive to me as a Boilermaker. I'm allowed to be offended just like everyone else.
Yes, he's sensitive.
All right. So Jules, we've had you on in the past. You're,
one of our first guests, right?
That's it.
He also have paid on our show when it started.
Need no introduction when it comes to the DFI. You wanted to be here for a specific reason.
No, but before we go to specific reasons, we have to have an update because a lot of things have changed in your life.
Oh yes,
since
that's
last
very
time
true.
that we have you here, right?
That is true. Yes.
So tell us.
Well, so a year ago, I took a position with Bauer Equipment, and so in the last year, from October to October, I've spent 6 months out of that year on and off training in Germany on the equipment.
And
I've
saw all the amazing posts.
Right. Like if you're on LinkedIn, you've probably seen it splash. But it's been a really, really awesome experience for me so far. I'm loving this new gig and being more hands-on with equipment. But
it also seems that you are. I mean, obviously Nicholson also have a lot of great things, but it seems that you, in this new role, you're also bringing a lot of awareness into like women in deep foundations, right? I mean, it seems that they give you like some space to develop new programs, right? And you have been posting a lot about that and different initiatives that you are taking now.
Well, it's a cool thing because it's a new position for the U.S. group of Bauer to have this type of role. And really, if I want to do it, if I want the training, I've been able to ask for it and they've made it available to me.
Sure.
So I've gotten to do some really awesome stuff, be the first woman in the world to kind of get certified to run these rigs and share that and inspire other women. I had a lot of other women reach out to me after that, like, that's so cool. How can I do that? How can I bring that to my company? So it's been really cool to kind of, we had a press release in the last ADSC magazine article
Yes,
and
I
yeah,
saw that.
just kind of how my experience working in the contractor world and now
Mhm.
blending that from the equipment side is
Yeah.
something really cool and unique, and it's
Yeah, no, and I mean,
yeah,
and,
it's
and,
great.
and, and I really mean what I'm gonna say, but you have always been like a role
Mm.
model in a lot of things on the Women in the Foundation, right? I mean, it's obviously uncharted territory and unknown territory because the committee started, right? And it also depends a lot on the initiatives of the people, right? It's like,
Right.
okay, well, the support from DFI is there, but it's needed to have these leaders that then they take it to the next level, right? And you have always come with awesome ideas, right? Since from the beginning on little things like, like say the PPE that is actually developed for women, right? Like,
Yeah.
like the safety vest that is not like super wide
Yeah.
and things like that. I mean, it may be small, maybe big, but it seems that you have always been upfront and all that. So it's awesome to see all the stuff that you're doing.
No,
honestly.
and I mean, look, I could speak a little bit from the contractor side of this, but I mean, what you've been able to accomplish with these certifications and understanding the equipment and just taking the initiative to learn it. You know, I as a contractor that has a lot of cranes, we've got guys that are working for us that like have they've been doing this for 20 years
Yeah.
operating this equipment, and they have trouble with some of these certifications and understanding, you know. So it's, I mean, it's no joke to be able to do what you've been doing, for sure.
Thank you. So two things, because I want to address what you said. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. But I can't take credit for all of those things. We have such an amazing group of women in these foundations, and all of us come together in those types of initiative with the PPE, with what we're going to talk about next.
Yep.
And it's a group effort. Somebody gets an idea, other people get inspired and excited, and we come together to like actually make these things happen. So
Yeah.
thank you for noticing the hard work that this group does, because we have a lot of women who are just driven to make a difference in this industry.
No,
and I'm
yeah.
happy to be part of that and
Yeah.
be one
More
of
than
those
deserved.
women.
No, and I
yeah.
said it earlier. I mean, some of the stuff that's come out of it, right? I've had now the opportunity working with Helen and Teresa and a few of the other women on the committee, the mentoring pods
Yeah, that's
and things that, I mean, it's been, I mean, I'm learning, I think I'm learning just as much as maybe some of the younger women that are in the group that are asking us questions.
yeah, it's great.
You know, they're looking at me and Helen kind of like, well, you guys have been doing this forever. What about this? And we're kind of having the same, like, well, you guys have a much different perspective than we
Yeah.
do.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So it's really good stuff, you guys.
Yeah,
are doing.
lots of cool initiatives coming out of this group, like this one that we're going to talk about.
All right, lay it on us.
Okay,
Tell
let's
us.
dive in,
That's
right?
it.
Let's do
So we have a really awesome thing that we're bringing to IFC. So the Women in Deep Foundations and the ADSC Women in Construction Roundtable have kind of
Okay.
formed a joint task force.
Okay.
And we've got committee members on this group from both. I mean, we're all kind of intertwined,
Sure.
but we are bringing a 4-hour-long workshop on equipment that's kind of designed for women by women. So the leaders in the industry on the equipment side of the business, like Sue Frank, Vanessa Lucido, we have kind of built this group to do a 4-hour-long workshop to introduce people. And in this case, we're starting kind of gearing towards women that might not have had so much exposure to the equipment on their job sites.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is kind of 2 hours of kind of classroom type teaching, and then we get to go out into the exhibits at IFC and we get to touch the equipment. They get to sit in the
Oh,
equipment.
that's
We get to
awesome.
kind of
Yeah.
like
That is-
put into practice.
into practice,
Yeah,
there's no-
and do that. So we get asked a lot like, well, who is this for? And the answer really is it's for everybody who
For
works in
everyone.
this industry.
Yeah.
Right. When I was a young PM and didn't really have a good feeling for all of the terminology that
Yeah,
went on
right.
my rigs.
Yeah.
You know, I remember my superintendent being like, swearing up and down, we have an issue with the rig. And,
Yeah.
you know, he's saying the word swivel and shiv. And I'm like, I don't know
The
what
hell
this
is that?
means.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a thing, right? I think going the road of having gone from consultant to contractor,
Yes.
that was my single biggest learning curve joining a contract, again, being around the cranes. Here's it, the car body, the this, to that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of looking at it. I'm like, what are these guys?
And we have multiple terms for the
talking
same
about?
thing, right?
That's right. That's right.
But at that point in my career, when, okay, we've got an issue with this thing that I don't know what it is, I had no idea, like, how long is this going to take to
Yeah.
repair? Is
Right.
this a big deal, a small deal?
Yeah.
How much is this going to affect my
Yeah,
budget?
you get a call from the field, right?
Exact-
What does that mean? Exactly.
Exactly. So this is a great way to just familiarize yourself not only with like the base components, the tracks, the undercarriage, the upper carriage, car body, you know, but then all the process equipment, right? In our industry, we have so many different techniques and methods that we can employ, whether it's CFA and we're talking about augers, or it's Kelly drilling and what's a Kelly bar? How does this thing telescope?
Right.
There's so much to learn, and that knowledge is empowering. So if you know you're a young female field engineer, project manager, estimator, it's for everybody. Design engineer, you know, this can empower so much, whether you've been in the industry for 2 years or 10 years. Like you said, if you're making a switch from coming out of design into construction, it's just a really awesome opportunity. I think in a fun environment, we've got some games planned, we've got some cool stuff that'll be really engaging. And
all this is happening the Sunday before, or what exact day?
I think it's on the same. That's a great
day?
question. Oh, you stumped me already. Shit.
It's all right. It's all right.
The day that it's happening is the kind of it's the first day, Tuesday.
Okay, so
I wanted to say Tuesday, but when you said Sunday, you threw me off. It is on Tuesday.
I always confuse all my conferences into what goes what day, but but I mean, it's good so people because the IFC registration starts December 1st, right?
Yep.
So I mean, it's good that people have this aware, so when they register for the conference, they know that these activities happening and they can register for that.
Absolutely.
Well, and we've gotten a lot of interest, and the thing is, we have to cap it.
Yeah.
So when it does open for registration, make sure you get in there.
Yes, correct.
You know, if you have females in your company that you think this would be good for, you know, spread the word. Like,
I mean, I guess that's a double-edged sword, right? You hate to have to cap stuff because you want as many people to be able to have this experience as possible, but at the same time, we get to a point where that's got to be capped. I mean, that's a phenomenal thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it goes back
interest.
the next edition of the IFC, right?
That's
I mean, it can be done many times. It can be done, well, not here because you need equipment, but it can be done on further editions too, right?
And we're hoping this will be a success because, like I said, the first, since it's a joint task force of, you know, the kind of the women, we're bringing this for women, by women. We want to highlight the females in the industry that have made a big impact on the equipment side. But we want to do this again. We want this to be a success to where next time it's not just for women, it's for everyone. And we can,
correct. And then you can open it even for...
Absolutely. So, you know, we want everybody in the industry to be able to benefit from something like this.
No, and I mean, this is like we talked about this a little bit the other day, but I mean, this is something we're hoping to, as we plan for the coming season of the DFI podcast. This is something we want to have an entire episode dedicated to, you know, getting in the weeds on this.
It's great
with what's going on, and come do it on the site, be around the equipment. And so, I mean, I'm sure there'll be plenty of insurance paperwork we're going to have to sign with someone, some there, but to be able to get on the site and have, to be able to show people a little bit as to what's going on. And I think that'd be really interesting.
Yeah. So Alyssa Maxwell from Hub Foundations and I kind of filmed a hype video this summer right before S3 in Boston. And so that's playing, it's going to be playing, I think, over there with the IFC booth. And so for people who are here this week, just check that out. It's on YouTube. It's going to start getting the social media blast for IFC and stuff like that. But it was fun, and it'll give everybody a kind of a good idea of what they can expect.
That's awesome.
Super cool
from the workshop. So we're excited about it.
Awesome.
We want everybody to be excited about it.
All right.
Yeah. So
very good.
Cool. Yeah, well, thank you very much for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for keep fading on us, right? This is not gonna just plumb and we are gonna get canceled or something.
I mean, I guess all we can ask is just keep doing rock star things. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Helps everyone in the game.
It is awesome. I mean, I honestly, I do enjoy a lot of the stuff that you post on LinkedIn.
Oh, thank you.
And I mean, I just say it, I mean, it's great to see that you have the drive and you're doing all that and you transmit that energy and you're a role model for so many people.
Oh, right? Thank you.
That's great.
Appreciate that.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, Lynda, you ready? You are in the hot seat now.
That's it. All right.
And that's probably going to be a wrap after this, right?
Well, we'll see. I mean, we got a few minutes. We'll see. Maybe we'll wrap up after Lynda. We'll wrap up with Matt and get a little bit of a preview for the next couple of days.
No, yes.
How would that be, right?
Of course. All right, Lynda, you have to maintain a distance with the microphone, right? You probably need to get a little closer.
Probably, yeah.
All right.
We get yelled at. I mean,
how well.
after we're done recording,
Mhm.
Jess is very mean to us. She yells at us about the things that we've done wrong.
Okay,
For
sure.
And
I
then
will
we say,
make
sure,
sure.
we'll do it in a
We'll-
year. We'll do it better.
We'll do it
and
better
then
next
for-
time, and then we won't. Yeah.
Yeah,
Alright,
for
so
sure.
Anyway.
let's start with Lynda, which is awesome because it's another guest from South America.
That's
Right?
it.
So I'm sure Chris is saying like it seems that this has been taken into some direction for Latin America, but
That's okay.
and she also happens to be from Colombia, and she
Yes.
also happens to be from Bogota, so
Oh,
same
so-
city that I was born.
All right.
Yes,
Can we just
I
fast
will.
forward and let's get the part where you guys talk about
I'm
soccer
sorry.
and all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff
for
out
sure.
of the
Yeah,
way?
yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Yep.
So no, I mean let's get started. So you were born in Bogota, right?
In Bogota, yes.
So you were born in Bogota, same as me, right? Just like a 30-year difference, but that's all right. And and
Kinda.
then how do you start getting interested into civil engineering being in Colombia? Like what was motivating you to going into that field?
Well, my grandma was mathematician. Like she studied math, pure
Okay.
math. But my family, like for my mom's family, they're all doctors or engineers. No, nothing else.
That's it. Yep.
So my mom and my dad, they had a company, a civil engineer company, for construction and design. So it had a little bit of touch of it. And then I moved on with my grandma, and I decided, like in my high school, that I want to be a doctor.
Okay.
But I want to be a really
didn't know
doctor.
All right.
But then I had an accident. I was in the emergency room for a long time, like a month.
Okay,
And
we have to make a
I-
parenthesis to make it clear, but Lynda was a professional cyclist
Okay.
and also like what how you say,
Skateboarding.
skate roller, know,
Like
like-
race skate roller.
Okay.
like the skate that are in line, like
It's like
four, you know,
for
four
race.
wheels
Speed
in a-
skating.
It's speed
speed
skating.
skating.
Got
So she was doing both competitively at a high level, right?
Okay.
Even at a young age, right?
Yeah, exactly. So,
So you
I
got a
had,
bad accident and all right.
and then, and I did a like no research, but I had in touch with all the doctors,
Yep.
and I said, oh, they don't earn too much money, and this is
So I need to make
sad.
a parenthesis. In Colombia,
In
unlike
Colombia.
the US, a medical doctor doesn't make that much money compared to an engineer,
No,
which is crazy.
it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
But I saw that. I said, you know, I really want to help people, but I think the only way to really make money and help people too is an engineer part,
Yeah.
and I'm really good at it. So let's focus on that
There you go.
and start apply for like public university and private too. And I decided to move forward with Escuela Colombiana de
Yes, so
Ingeniería.
I'll intervene on that. So she went to Escuela Colombiana de Ingeniería, which is it's a university where I spent a week last summer because they invited me to give a foundation class for 1 week. And
Okay.
it's a really cool school there because it was formed about what, like 50 years ago.
Yes.
But it was a lot of good professors coming from the national university that were kind of tired of
The
problems
public.
of the national university with a lot
Yep.
of protests and stuff like that. So it was a very cool concept. And it was a school that is only about engineering, right?
Engineers.
All right, carry on.
So yeah, I start with that, and also I start working in the same at the same time. My first year, I started working in the same university
Okay.
as assistant, and then I moved to my third year, and I started working in a design firm.
Okay.
So I get in touch in all the design process and structural design too. I finished my university and I moved to US and I started fun. So I started working in AFT.
Okay.
And the company,
And that was in Florida, right?
that
In
was in
Tampa.
Florida, in
Okay.
Tampa, Florida.
Got it.
As every South American, go Florida.
Florida,
Florida,
Easy,
that's
man,
it.
It's close.
it's the weather. It's the weather.
Yeah, the weather is very.
So
Yeah.
here's the problem with the weather. I spent a month in Florida this summer. Now
No, the
that's
summer-
probably my
no.
problem. But it was like 108
Well,
by
yeah,
like
it's
8 a.m.
still-
every day.
Yes.
So when I hear like I want to go to Florida for the weather, like that's okay for like
For the-
yes,
For
yeah.
November, October, November,
a
December.
piece of the time.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
But also, you have like a familiarity of the people there.
Sure. Absolutely.
You have a diversity.
Yeah.
There. So that's
No
why.
question.
That's why. And I started working with AFT with
Mhm.
Mike Sharp. He was my mentor. and start learning a lot as an Latin woman in an industry that is really for men, and I've been in the field all the time.
Yeah.
It was really successful because I learned so much in just 6 months. I was like, I know every single test that I possibly we can do it in a drill shop, in the auger cast, and pile driving, and everything. It's like, oh my god, this is awesome.
Yep.
And
but I have to say, I mean, it's something that is extremely pleasant is to see the career, the accelerated career that she's having.
Yep.
And she's being very modest the way that she's telling, because I mean, she arrived from Colombia, right? And then she started getting involved in the industry and doing a lot of testing, but it's that desire and that hunger of growing and developing your career, right? That she started doing testing all across the US, right? And, and not say no to anything. And then you can see how she started getting, you know, a lot of experience very quickly, like what she was saying, but she also started working with a lot of great people.
Right?
Yes,
a lot of great mentors. And then it's like catching up. And I mean, to me, obviously, being from Colombia, being significantly older than you, it's great to see that you have that passion for the profession, that you have that hunger for the profession, you have that drive and desire to really achieve as much as you can, and that shows. And you know, it not only shows on the work that you start doing, but then you start getting involved with professional societies.
Yes.
Lynda was one of the keynote, you know, speakers in Mexico last week. So I mean, she's already getting into these opportunities, right? And
absolutely,
she takes every opportunity and try to exploit it as much as possible to keep growing professionally, right? And I think that is something that it's extremely satisfactory to observe. You know what I'm saying? Like to see you keep growing and doing all that.
And it was awesome. I was on LinkedIn looking. I know it was like Sebastian. Oh my God, he was like, he was the man. Oh my God, he's Colombian guy. He's been doing a lot of stuff, and I always comment their posts. It's like someday, one day, I'm gonna meet him. And it was funny because I knew it. He was from Colombia, but I didn't know he speaks Spanish too. It's you know, we never know.
Yeah, you don't know. Some people leave Colombia and become better people.
Yeah. So I start chatting with him in English.
Yep.
And we met.
We can speak Spanish, you know.
No, we met in person talking English. And then say,
yes,
just talk Spanish.
Well, but I mean, in my defense, also, like Lynda writes her name like Lynda, which is not a common way to write Lynda. You know, like in Spanish, you will go with an I instead of a Y.
Yeah, probably.
So, yes.
Yeah, so it was funny, but I was like, oh my God, Sebastian, I'm so glad. I don't know how to express it.
That's what we do in this show. You see,
we need to dial this down a little bit because his ego is enough to manage.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm sorry.
My feed for the next, game day live is gonna be insane.
So in Mexico,
Matt is gonna get my demands, right?
Yeah. Next thing you know, keep an eye out for the post that's coming in about an hour.
Yes. He's gonna like denied everything. Yeah. Man.
See, he's gonna have a selfie with you. Oh, look, my fan club, right? And this is what we deal with this guy.
I know. But I mean, I had to say it. And in Mexico, yeah, I always say it. And in front of him, he was like, I'm Sebastian.
No, look, I get it, right? I mean, having been born and you guys coming from a different country and everything like that, I mean, there's got to be definitely a satisfaction with making connections.
Yes,
culturally with people that you're on the same wing with.
Yeah, and also it's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult first because we have a language barrier.
Sure,
we all came with a language barrier, and it all. I mean, it took us time, right? And at the beginning, I was telling Lynda that it's like
I'm from Jersey. I mean, there's a language barrier with me with most people too.
But you know, like for us, it's like, and I was telling Lynda that, like when I started my career and going to conference and stuff like that. Initially, I wanted to hide my accent because you want to blend, right? Yeah. And then at some point, you realize that actually that is one of your advantages.
Yes,
people tend to believe that you know more if you have an accent.
Yeah. So he's, you know what I'm saying? Like, putting an accent.
With an accent. Everyone in the conference is gonna say like, well, that I know what the hell he's talking about because he has an accent, right? And he speaks fast, so you know he talks fast. So there are things that you have to use on your advantage, but it's what you are recognizing, please. I mean, it is extremely satisfactory to start making all the connections.
Sure.
In the US, of course, because you are trying to make a name in this market and you're trying to make a career.
Yes.
But then it comes the second part, which is once you have the opportunity to start going back to where you came from.
Yep. Wow, it's amazing.
And giving back a little bit and doing these things. And I think that's the reason that we have such a great time like in Mexico and that, because we identify a lot. And when you are doing those talks and you have students at the end that approach you and start asking you questions and stuff, and you realize like, hey, the only difference between you and me is 20 years or 30 years.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I really have nothing special. It's like the same way that you love your profession, I love it, and and I have certain opportunities that I'm sure you are gonna have.
It's a very satisfying feeling to be able to feel like you're contributing to the industry. You know what I mean? So it's I think that's largely why we try and do this kind of stuff with the game day and with bringing different people on and
I mean,
it's
like
amazing.
listening the stories of everyone, right?
That's it.
I mean,
I've
every
learned.
single person, it's a journey. It's a lifetime journey that has made their life. I mean, it's basically the career. I mean, just look for Lynda for me. Like our careers and our lives were shaped because of our careers, right? Like I end up in Pittsburgh because I have the opportunity to study there.
Yep.
And we are in Seattle right now because every single step on our career took us that way.
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
And that's the reason we're sitting here with you. So no, I mean it's an awesome opportunity. And as I said, I mean I'm very proud of what you're doing, and she's working with Ross, which is a good friend of the podcast and DFI, and I think it's like you are gonna continue learning with him, and he's an awesome mentor,
Roz is a sharp guy. We I don't know if you had we spent some time talking with him over the last couple of months. Matt, myself, and Tony Marinucci, we wrote an article on product development.
Yes,
that we interviewed him as part of that, and so. Again, another learning opportunity, being able to talk to some different people in the industry and just learn what different people are doing. I mean, it was
I mean, to be honest, I don't know. Well, you probably also, but drinking at the bar with Ross is awesome. And listening the story of his life.
Wow.
He's a sharp guy. No, there's no question about that.
Absolutely. So no, that's great. So now tell us a little more about DFI. So how do you connect to DFI and all this makes you are discovering in this world, and then how DFI comes to your life?
To be honest, I was really excited in your publications.
Oh, really?
So you always, I said, oh, wow, why not?
Copy that, man. I'm selling DFI. I want some bonuses at the end.
So why not? And I also really love it. And then when I moved working with Ross, Ross is really involved in this.
Absolutely.
And he is a speaker, and he had that anger. And I was like, oh my God, no, I will do it. And he approached like, if you want to do it, I can help you do it.
That's it.
Ah, okay.
And that's the kind of guy you want helping you.
I mean, that's the kind of mentor that you need.
Exactly.
Right?
So he now is my mentor, and he is like, Lynda, if we have an opportunity, you have to speak. You have to be the one. He get that from. I mean, he get from me my work and everything, but he trying to teach me all what he knows.
Yes.
So it's amazing, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So that is why.
And and we were talking with Lynda Mexico City. You could have been on that conversation, Chris, but you ditched us. So,
yes.
Right. But we were talking.
I bet you have a lot of pictures of me.
Yes,
I do have a lot of pictures of you.
Full of pictures of Lynda in all kind of Mexican settings.
My wife wanted to know who the hell the woman that there was like 9 pictures of her in my phone because of the group chat. No, it's fine.
No, it was not for my fault. It's his fault.
It was this guy.
It was a really good way
absolutely.
To so no, but I mean, I was saying that the good role of a mentor, and I think Ross is great, and I mean, and it's awesome because we have a team on this podcast today. Like when we were interviewing Morgan, right? Like my experience with Morgan has always been that it's like I need to teach you everything I know, right? And that's really being a mentor. It's like I'm gonna teach you everything that I know, and then you're gonna learn more and gonna go
and do it better.
And then you are gonna do that to somebody else, and then that's the way that we are all gonna keep getting.
That's it.
I think this is a good opportunity to every student look for a mentor in the field that they like. This is a good opportunity to show what is the real life and to be involved, and not just for the student to look for mentors. It's just for mentor to look at another person to teach what they know.
Sure.
Everything is about experience, and it's the only way to transmit that experience. Look it for people to want to learn.
Yeah, no, that's well said. I mean, we all have a mentor, and then at some point we realize we become the mentors of others, right?
Yeah, that's it.
It's something important, and DFI does a really good job with that, with the pods that you were saying, Chris, and well,
it's just the opportunities to meet people here. to
Well,
make those
but to
connections.
be honest,
moving
like,
ahead.
I guess this is the first time you attend the national conference, right?
Yes, this is my first
Yeah,
time.
and like when we came here yesterday, I was telling her like, well, my mission is to introduce to everyone that I know. Right?
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
was like, yeah, I
Right?
will be there.
That's it.
That's the way the industry
Yes.
grows, right? It's like we bring new people, and
Yes.
it's very hard to come to a conference for the first time without knowing many people, right?
Yeah, it's hard.
Because
Yes,
you
it's
hard.
you come here and you see people like
You're like,
hugging and
What's
you're
it
like,
like
oh, I
when-
haven't seen you for a while. and all
Yeah,
that.
earlier we had Morgan on, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
correct.
we were joking. We said, relative to Sebastian and I, she's been in this game for 5 minutes.
Yes.
When I was her age and at that level of my career, the opportunities were not there to
done.
come to this kind of
No,
stuff.
no.
And even the few that I had the chance to go to, you just kind of walk around like, what is happening?
Yes,
correct.
you know what I
true.
mean?
It's
Trying
true.
to just like absorb and understand and try to not look awkward. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's it. That's
yeah.
it.
Well, no,
Well,
thank you very much.
No,
for
thank
coming,
you.
Lynda,
No,
and
thank
it was
you.
awesome to have you on this, and
Yeah.
keep doing what you're doing, right?
Thank you.
And
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Thank
the
you. I
energy
will.
and excitement. So,
Thank you. Thank you for
no, muchas
having me.
gracias.
Absolutely.
Yeah, gracias. Gracias.
All right,
All
Matt,
right.
are you ready?
Yes.
Let's do a.
Yeah. We're doing pretty good.
We're always doing good, man.
That's it.
Muy bien, muy bien. So I hear you were in Mexico also, right? Having a great time. Not
See?
like some people here.
Yeah, weird.
I did
So
make
like
it down there. Yeah, I didn't
almost
have to cancel
everyone-
my flight, did I? Yeah,
almost
no,
everyone at this table went to Mexico except for
Almost.
one guy.
Almost, and we made it to this beautiful, beautiful hacienda restaurant.
Yes, man.
Sonata
Who it
Inns.
turns out that the one guy that didn't go made that recommendation to go.
But then Walter took us there unasked,
Yeah,
unbidden.
there you go.
So apparently that is his go-to spot to take
Yes.
All right, well then
people.
two
so
two-
and
two
I
years? It's
don't-
2
I
years
have-
till
In
it
2
is
years.
again?
In 2 years, the three of us will be
Yes.
there, and
Okay.
we'll get
Yes.
we'll rectify things, right?
That's it. All right, Matt. So we're wrapping up day one here.
Well, not quite. I mean, game day's
well,
wrapping
game
up.
day's wrapping up.
Right.
All right, sorry. Content is wrapping up. We now have the exhibitor
Welcome
happy
reception.
hour, welcome
Yeah.
reception.
Welcome reception.
Um,
Better known as happy hour, probably. Yeah.
look, as director of technical activities, someone that works for DFI, that lives and breathes DFI. I mean, how are things? How are
What's your
things
feeling?
shaping
How
up
are
with the
you
Great.
conference?
No, I'm feeling really good actually. Committee day's over, so it's downhill from there for me.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah,
Right?
that's true.
That's my mountain for this
Yes.
conference, right? So
That's it.
but no, we've got great stuff. I love the staff that Angie has brought to this, and helping us run it. The AV crew this year is fantastic.
Yeah.
And Jess and Jamie have stepped right up and been pulling a ton of weight this year. So they're doing a fantastic job. All kudos to them in that regard. We had Chris Thornburg did a fantastic job talking about something totally different.
Well,
I know you guys
we
talked
started
about
on
that
off with Matt. Like that's a
earlier.
ballsy move to go economist
correct,
right out
correct.
the chute.
You know,
Yeah.
it was I don't know that he exactly nailed maybe what our initial vision was for that, right? But in reflecting back on it,
It was
the stuff
profoundly-
that he talked
It was
about,
interesting.
okay, yeah, that still is the stuff that's affecting our industry and going to be
Absolutely.
shaping it over
No,
the next
absolutely.
5-10 years. So
Absolutely.
I was expecting him to talk about, well, we're seeing this in the transportation market and this in the industrial market and right where it's going to go and
Yeah.
whatever. But so it took it in a totally different direction than I was expecting, but I still thought it was great. Monique's history
was
of
phenomenal.
Seattle
Yeah.
was fantastic. And then our student paper competition winner, Ji Huang, did. I thought that was a great presentation. He was very well polished, which some students struggle with. We all do, right? It's our first time, our first real.
Some of us
presenting.
that have been doing this for 20 years struggle with it. Yeah.
Point taken. Yes, I know I do. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you reminding me. Of
I
that.
said some
But-
of us, right? I mean,
Well, hey, us are sitting here at the table. So, but no, he did a great job. And then the now I'm drawing a blank on the stadium name. But the
Climate Pledge
Arena, that project.
going to check it out tomorrow night. Going to see the Kraken tomorrow night.
Are you fantastic?
I think that'll be
That
delightful.
was amazing. All the stuff that they were having to do there and design and work on. Yeah, jealous of that crew and working on that project.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall, I'm really happy. looking forward to listening into the panel session, watching that later on.
Yep.
No, we're missing out on that, but we still got, hey, we got another day and a half of technical presentations to go. We got 3 tracks going tomorrow. Two technical tracks in
we
our
got Ken.
rooms.
We got Ken Jennings.
We got Ken Jennings as our Hal Hunt lecture. We got our
That's
business lunch. So there might be a video that's got somebody narrating it. Thank you. Highlighting the year of what our technical committees have done.
Hopefully the video of someone not to be named was filmed before the leprechaun beard.
Before the custom. Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
There's no. I just said audio. Audio.
All right. Even better.
Audio.
Low risk.
There you go.
So yeah, keeping that. Yes, low risk. Yeah, we did the video last
face
year.
for radio. Face for radio. There you go.
Yes, absolutely. We did the video last year, and I said, yeah, if we can not do that this year, that'd be fantastic. So yeah, we did that. And then we got Friday. We got another half day of sessions. So
awesome.
It's gonna be fantastic.
Awesome.
And
that's good. And then tell us how are you doing, man? I mean, you have been doing a great job right now for like about a year and a half, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm doing fantastic. And Sebastian, how are you doing?
Well, I'm doing really good, man. I think you bring a lot of value. I mean, obviously, we all love Mary Ellen, and we think that she did a lot of great stuff. But
yeah, I mean, those are shoes to fit, right? We're gonna have her on tomorrow talking about.
And we all talk that, but I think
they're not shoes to fill. They're steps to follow in.
That's it.
Yes. But I think you brought a different take and a different energy, and it's working. And I think it's being appreciated by the members. And I think it's important that right, that you are doing a good job, and everyone likes that. And I think things keep going, and as long as we're happy that you're happy, we're happy, right? That you are there.
I am happy, Sebastian.
And after all this, I guess we can negotiate a budget for the next year of this show, right? And we hope that
we want our salaries tripled. So we need you to talk
three times
zero.
3 times nothing, still nothing.
At least tripled.
Yes.
So we could discuss it. We don't need to get ended out with our millions of viewers.
Hit that millions of viewers benchmark, and then we can start to talk.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Exactly.
All right, Matt.
No, we appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
We are at closing time, aren't we, gents?
That's it.
Yeah.
Time to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, we'll be back at it tomorrow morning. So,
but hey, you guys watched Fraser when you were growing up, right? Fraser that was supposed to be in Seattle, right? He had a radio show, and he always finished saying "Good night, Seattle," right? So we have to finish
good night,
like
Seattle.
that. Say "Good night, Seattle," and we'll be back, right? We'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. and we're gonna have more guests and more exciting content, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jess.
Good night, Seattle.
You do, and
all right.
And that's it.
That's it.